Ah. Hi everyone. Hello, hello.
Hello.
You read it, and then Sober Dwarf has first. Sober Dwarf, you get a free redeem up to 1,000 points of what you like. I think my redeems are still on because I wasn't here. Yes.
I'm pretty sure they are,
yeah. Any redeems right now beyond this are not gonna get honored. So stinky person if you redeem something because we're talk showing.
Yeah. Let me see if I can just go turn them off then while we
thank you.
prelude.
The idea.
Oh, no.
The wrong page. Well, happy Saturday, everyone. Hope you are, if you're from the US, not too dead from yesterday, if you celebrated for some reason. Wow.
Yep. And not too hungover either.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Blah, blah, blah. Do we have any important news before we start talking about Fate? Or just we just dive right in?
The gruesome twosome responsible for the trash fire that we can't stop talking about, that is Dungeons and Dragons 5.05 edition.
Oh yeah, right.
Is now working beneath the boot heel of the industrialist known as Matt Mercer. So there you go. I was trying to think, how can I make this just sound like awful, but not too awful? And there you go. Yeah. Now they're working with Critical Role and what is it? Darrington Press, their official.
Yeah.
Everything.
Sure, we just they have that as news on the website. No. Newsletter?
This one there was.
Join our Discord. Oh. Maybe I need to allow some.
I could have sworn it was just like on their official thing.
Ah, yeah. In the blog section.
Found it.
Welcome,
Perfect.
Chris Perkins and Jerry Crawford, to our team. Like.
Yeah. Welcome, people who were very behind the scenes forever.
Are they? This isn't the publishing team, is it? Like, I find this
Pretty
a
sure
bit
it's not.
disingenuous. These are, yeah, sure, these people own Darrington Press. Is that who works there? It's all good, on that.
It's all good.
Just info. Like, do they? Oh, thank you for the resub. Thank you. Damn. 48 months. Hot diggity damn. Right, like. It's hard to know this information, I guess.
It is. It's hard to know exactly what this means. Like, this is just a press release, too, so it's very empty-headed as a result. It's a very look at thing that happened.
LinkedIn, okay. 2 to 10 employees. Katie Lothar, Marzina Nida Pikova Gos, okay. Govarzewska, John Salvador Almencian, Samantha B. Lucas. See all employees. Oh, yeah, right, of course. I would have to make a LinkedIn, which I will not do. So, these four
Making a LinkedIn live on stream.
These four are not on that in that photo. Weird. Wait, this is also Katowice, right? What? Katowice, Poland? Interesting. Who knew that the Darrington Press set in Poland?
What?
San Diego, California. This is, I think, an artist. Is she? Illustrator at Wizards. Sitting in Poland. Freelance illustrator from the Philippines. And oh, Samantha B. Lucas is from Stuttgart, Germany. Okay. Yeah, so these are artists working for them. Okay, I guess maybe, I don't know. I don't think these people are voice actors. They have busy schedules. I'm not sure how much time they have to devote to this. Sure, they are very heavily involved in the promotional side of things. Company profile. Oh, I know what. No, my brother is. Just don't worry about it. That's really Chrome only, you stinky poo poo website. In current year, that's such a bad showing. Okay. Oh, browser is still not supported on Chrome. Cool. Please download Chrome. I have Chrome. What the fuck? Okay, your website is just stupid then. Cool.
Oh, stupid. Okay, so it just keeps charts. I'm sorry, but I'm just interested in this now. I'm super interested in this too. Like,
view full org chart? No, I will not zoom in for fuck off. Ah. What the fuck? Okay, it's just an attempt to send me a thing. So they are already 2 of the 3 key people listed in Wikipedia for their press. That's a good sign.
it's funny. One of the things about Jeremy Crawford that is like a point in his column is he did develop the Blue Rose tabletop role-playing game, which was intended to focus on fantasy authors that were the antithesis to Conan. So like fantasy romance stuff rather than fantasy, everything sucks and we're all barbarians. But he did that a long time ago, like 20 years ago, 2005. So it's very much in his rearview mirror.
Ivan Van Norman is mentioned by name here as leader.
Okay.
I guess he no longer is there because he's no longer mentioned. English troubleshooting player, blah blah blah. The first state of the bus. Blah. Games. Bucator. Jeb Havens, Gabriel Hicks. There seem to be like, yeah, cool. Different people have made games with them. Who is actually working for them full time? Like, I'm assuming not too many people. James Hake.
So Ivan Van Norman left 2 weeks ago. Okay.
James Hake. So he was let go for those people. Okay. That's cool.
Huh.
Oh, well,
yeah, that's basically the impression I'm getting too.
Yeah.
He's let go for them.
Yeah. Well, I have no scripting shit on my Chrome because I know this. So I was expecting Chrome to do it, but never mind. It does not. So, yeah, James Hake here is not mentioned in the current working people either. So I assume it's them just finding people who have time to work on stuff and then getting that in there, question mark?
Oh, he has his own company, Hunter's Entertainment. Ivan Van Norman, that is interesting.
I think all of these people have their own companies and then work for each other. Like it's not that hard to have your own RPG publishing company being you and your mom or whatever, and then you say, yeah, I have a phone company. Here's my business card, and you do the scene from American Psycho.
Oh my goodness, yes. Yeah, there's that, and then there's just this is the time for the strike where the iron is hot. Like, yeah, Daggerheart's a thing, but they're not doing things that everybody likes. So there's plenty of room for everybody else to do whatever else they might want to do that somebody might like.
Mm-hmm. Like they also just seem to just, if they like a game, just publish it. It's like some of this is just board games. Not that I'm disparaging that, but it's nothing to do with TTRPGs.
Yep.
A PvP board game, okay. Here's your TBC Tellison having involvement in something, Candida Obscura.
Yep.
Which, if you look into the writing of that book, he wasn't really mentioned in there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, okay.
He wound up being kind of just the face for it.
Yeah.
Oh, here.
He
I found
be,
a list of all the current stuff.
Okay.
And who does what? Like, very specifically.
Okay. Give me. Put it on screen. Okay. Personnel. Chris Perkins, creative director. Jeremy Crawford, game director. Matthew Master, creative director. Spencer Stark, senior game designer. Rowan Hall, game designer. Elise Resendes, senior RPG producer. Alex Ubaldi, senior game producer. Brittany Warlock Key, director of retail. Katie Lothar, retail partnership manager. Darcia Ross, publishing marketing. Ellie De Simone, procurement, and Alex Hall, community manager. So, and former Travis was creative director, I guess no longer.
Yep.
Okay. Maybe doesn't have the time. Step down for Jeremy, who knows?
He has to manage the company as the CEO, and it's gotten big.
But Ivan Van Norman was CEO. Now he is now CEO. Is it mentioned anywhere?
I thought he always was, but I could be wrong.
Oh, he's creative director. Former.
Okay.
It says. There's no CEO here.
Interesting. Okay. I thought he was.
At least not mentioned. Like, I guess.
Oh, he's the CEO of Critical Role Productions. LLC.
Yeah. He's the CEO of the parent company. Yeah. Okay. So, so let's see. These two obviously in the photo, and then Matt is in the photo. But all of these people actually work at Darrington Press. They weren't mentioned in this press release. They have a new boss now, and they are not here. This is not them. So, gosh.
Yeah. And the team thing, like, there's the Critical Role team, which is technically like the overarching thing over Darrington, technically, and that's what Travis is in charge of completely.
Yeah.
So, okay, this is all starting to make sense. This is very corporate speak shit, everybody.
It's weird that it's very it's weird to me to give everybody like some corporate position in your thing, but I guess it's the done thing in these circles. I don't know.
Yeah, you kind of have to, I guess. I don't know. It's just whenever I see somebody emulate this and they're extremely small, I cringe inside.
Yeah, like what does it mean to be like retail partnership manager? Or director of retail. So I think it's fair to say that the director of retail has one person working under them, which is the retail partnership manager.
Yeah.
And that's it? Like these are a team of two doing
Actually
retail?
makes sense. Yeah.
Also, like there's a senior RPG producer and senior games producer. So these two are, I guess, the workhorses. Like, and TLDR, like we have no high opinion of these two. In case you don't know this, these two are they basically mismanaged D&D for years, and Of course, a lot of that can be laid at the feet of Hasbro as well. But at no point did these two like come out and say, "Well, we're doing our best," but Hasbro's just being a shit. They just never did. They just were always like, "Oh yeah, this is going to be a great product. The thing we are making that is exactly the same as the game you already own." But there's no longer evil ox in it. They all wear sombreros instead now. That's the difference. Like, that's going to be the best game you'll ever see, and you'll ever want to play, and you'll ever own, and you don't ever want another game ever. And also, by the way, please subscribe to our monthly thing that we are selling you now.
That is very dead end.
And please buy all our books again on that digitally for full price. Because convenience, I suppose.
Yep.
Like, that's all them. It's all been spearheaded under their leadership. And yes, again, Hasbro is to blame ultimately. But I don't know how you think it's some sort of get to have these two with you.
Yeah.
Like, there's a million Italians you could have hired that would have brought you better ideas. I say Italians because that's been thrown you on the show at least since last year. That a lot of the games we like just has some random Italian writing.
It's kind of uncanny. And there's just also another wrinkle to this. Okay, so Hasbro has policy, blah, 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 terrible thing, etc. You didn't have to stay and do the thing Hasbro wanted you to do.
Yeah.
If the money was that good, I get it, but you didn't have to if you're that great game designers in your own right. There's so many companies that you could go join. You could have joined the Call of Cthulhu people at Chaosium. You could have joined Paizo. You could have joined Kobold Press.
Yeah.
You could have joined Darrington Press, which you wound up doing, but you did it after the fact. There's just so many things that they could have done.
My issue is with the timing as well. Like, D&D 5.05 is not talked about anymore, in my opinion. Like, I haven't really heard a peep much about it. Like, it's to the credit of what's his name? Of Crawford. He at least did a lot of promo on the D&D channel. Like, I didn't like the promo he did, but at least he did it.
Yeah, he did his job. Like, I will give him that.
And I'm sure Perkins did his job too. The problem is that, I just don't see how this is a get for anybody. Heck yeah.
Really isn't.
And how the people who are chiefly responsible for D&D's decline are now in some other company that's supposed to challenge D&D. Like, do you seriously think these guys who are in their 60s are gonna have a slew of new ideas for games?
No, they just won't.
Like, okay, even if they have them, like, they could have easily brought their own games out. Like, they have like 3 guaranteed Kickstarter wins in them before they would have had to find something else to do. If you just say Chris Perkins' new game, immediately it's going to give you 6 figures on Kickstarter to make the book of your dreams. And they aren't doing that. No, they've signed with, like, charitably said, the one company that probably can pay them the salary they're accustomed to.
Yeah, that's what it is. They're taking the safe option. That's just literally what it is. It's very safe to go, hey, I'm going to sign on to this company that's obviously ridiculously popular right now. It's just safe. And I get it. They're in their 60s. They're looking towards the safe options right now. But the thing is that they're in the minority in that regard. There's so many other tabletop entrepreneurs in their 60s. And when I say so many, just go to Kickstarter, go Google it. So many of them that are still willing to go, you know what? I still am hungry in the shark-infested waters that is freelancing. Let's go on Kickstarter and give it another try. Maybe I might get 5 figures for this one. And then some of them do. Like, it's about risk. They're not willing to take any.
No. And I can only assume this has been planned for a while.
Oh yeah, long in advance.
Like we are gonna make the 5e 505 books because we are contractually obligated to do that. And if we go leave early, like I don't know what kind of contracts they signed, but I assume they had to be there for it. And
Yes.
then now that the books are out, we have fulfilled our base contract. But I think the Monster Manual is still not out, is it? I forget. It's no, it is out. But it is out.
It is out.
Yeah, all the books are out. So yeah, so they immediately leave, and then after the minimum time has passed, sign on for the next gig. Yeah, cool.
Huh.
Yeah, good luck to them. Okay, let's close the book on this though.
Yeah, that's enough of that.
Yeah,
Because it was good to talk about it completely before moving on to the next thing.
yes. So, other games that aren't D&D.
Yep.
Here's Fate Core. And to the immediate credit of it, sorry, it's a little cropped at the top there. You can just play this, like you read this with us for entirely free. This website.
Huh?
Just put it in chat. And like other Fate products, Fate settings and so on might cost money in the book form. And you can buy a physical book of this as well for some money. But this is all freely available. All the rules are freely available, and actually the physical book, at least the one I do own the physical version of this for reference at the table and stuff, because this was a game back when playing live at the table was still a thing, lol. There's a lot like extra of these links and to Fate things like in here in the digital that aren't even in the physical. So good on them for keeping this very up to date. Mm-hmm. You can Patreon support them. If you look at that real quick.
And also the physical book retails for about $25 right now.
Yep.
Still.
Yep. So they have 226 members. That number makes no sense. $29.3 a month with 226 members. That makes no sense.
Is it possible for you to be a member without paying anything? Like, I clicked on
join for free.
Join.
Sorry, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So so that's not their main source of their money then, I suppose.
No.
For some it might be. Close for 30 days. What? Oh, it's ads. I see. Okay. Mm-hmm. That threw me for a loop there for a second. Well, okay. What's Fate? Well, Fate is a generic system that uses descriptors. I'll get into way more about this, but it uses descriptors to govern basically every aspect of play. So if you say that your character is a mighty swordsman, say, for example, then you can use that descriptor, which is got an aspect, to gain a bonus on anything that a mighty swordsman would be good at. So anything to do with strength, anything to do with sword fighting, anything also probably to do with, I'd say, adventuring, if it's like a medieval adventure game, could be said to be a bonus if you want it to be. And you get several of these, and everything else in the game world, everyone and everything also has aspects that will help or hinder you. And that's the game. So that's the episode. That was short. I'm sorry for. No, but for real, this is the game. This is the generic game, and you can technically play any old thing with it. So now let's get into it a bit more. Let's explain some rules.
Yep, let's get
They're
into
say
why.
Yeah. They're gonna say immediately how do you like what you need to play is Fate dice or normal D6s. because how you adjudicate anything in the system is rolling 4 dice, seeing do they have a plus, a minus, or a nothing on it, which of course corresponds to 1, 2 is the minus, 3, 4 is the nothing, and 5, 6 is the plus. And then on your skill roll, you look at that and you see, okay, I would have a +2. Then you look at your whatever skill you rolled and add what you have in that. Because yes, you do have skills in this game as well, which is, yeah. And then you could say, okay, I did a fighting check, I have a +2. I invoke my aspect as a mighty swordsman to gain another +2 to it, and then I have a 4 in my roll. That's basically the system. And yes, of course, there's more to it than that. Of course, there is.
Of course.
But this is ultimately what it is. Oh yeah, the invocation isn't free. It's important, very important. Like if I want to say my Swordmaster comes into play, I have to pay a fate point. Usually, sometimes it can be free. We'll get to that. But I can always hit people. But if I want to hit them really well as my Swordmaster, I have to also pay fate points.
Yep. Interestingly enough, this is something that Daggerheart also features.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You have a thing that describes the thing you're good at, like, I don't know,
yes,
Master Swordsman, and you have to spend your hope in order to invoke that if you want to add a bonus with that.
Yeah, I mean, Fabula Ultima does it too. Technically, our invocations of Fabula points, we aren't really playing with it, but technically, in our games, we would have to say, well, I can re-roll this because I am a mighty swordsman.
Yep.
And then I invoked my mighty swordsman aspect, and I can re-roll, or I invoke my bonds and get a bonus. A lot of games do this aspect thing to inform some part of play. Like some games, I would say, like D&D, do it too. Like they just tell you the 3rd level fighter, that's your kind of your thing. So you get, and then you get certain bonuses from it. Obviously, it's always going to work in this kind of A keys from B way. But Fate does it the most and the hardest. Because basically everything in the game, apart from a very few select like skill points that you have, keys off, always keys off of these aspects. So obviously you can play a game master is the dichotomy is a thing. The character sheet, you can look at that real quick because it is helpful to see how like it's quite small.
It's very small. This is what I refer to sometimes as an index card character sheet.
Yes.
Because technically all of this could fit in an index card.
Yes. There's I have found for my own game at home we had an A4 version with an inventory and stuff because we liked inventory. That's somewhere. I couldn't find it for today. But yeah, you give yourself a name. Give yourself your description. And then you make up high concept, a trouble, and other aspects. What does this mean? Well, is description actually like physical description? This high concept, the kinky vamp, I forgot. I think it is. I think this is physical description. Let me just stuck in honey jail. Other aspects, you get 3 of them. And technically, if we are playing with a few other people, 2 of those aspects at least are supposed to come from your other players. And you are collaboratively making characters together at the start of the game.
Yep. More than any other game that I've ever seen in my whole life, this really, really, really works better and works at its best when you are being collaborative with everybody else at the table. If you have one guy missing, it just, no, you can't do it. You have to have them there.
I have seen this both work and not work at all, I must say.
Yep.
It depends very much on players. This is going to be one of the things that I have to bring up later. So,
oh yeah, and setting. Oh, if everybody has a book they can look at for this, for playing Fate, for like, I don't know, let's say Dresden Files. If everybody can look at the Dresden Files book on their own and then come to the table, it's a lot easier. But when you're just let's come up with something together. Ooh,
yeah. Yeah, let's go through that actually. Let's see.
Yeah,
so,
let's do that.
Just very basically describing this aspect. You have skills, which go from 1 to 4. And those are basically, if you wrote something, you get the bonus, obviously. You have stunts, which are, if you use a skill in a certain circumstance, you might get more out of it. We'll get to those later. This is not you get a further +2 or something. No, it's just a further advantage might happen if you do something. And then stress and consequences are your hit points. If you see them here, you can take hits. Like if I roll a 3 to defend, the enemy rolls a 4 to attack, say, I would mark my 1 physical stress here. And then that's out. And if I had to mark 1 stress again, I'd have to mark this. If I had to mark 1 stress again, I would have to get a mild consequence, basically. And if all of these are filled, you're out. You are out of the fight. You're not necessarily dead. The game is silent on if you die, stuff like that. It's basically just your fight is over for you. So, okay. And the last concept we have to quickly say is refresh. Because like we said, you get fate points. Ever so often, the start of a game session, or when the GM tells you they're going to refresh, you're going to get some fate points back. But you can also get fate points in other ways. We'll get to that. Here's actually, we are approaching and right in my first problem with this game. It's kind of, the rules are very intertwined, and even with like text in front of me that explains them, I find myself jumping around a lot to try and make sense of them.
From the outset, you are going, okay, what aspects? Where are my examples? And then jumping immediately. Skills, you're doing the same because it's not quite the same as skills in other games. You're having to parse that fully and look at all of their examples to really get the full picture. Fate as a whole is a game where you have to be able to take in the full lens of everything all at once in order to really rock it. That's the best word. Because it's hard to do it otherwise. You can't just look at strength and go, okay, I know what strength is.
Yeah, there's really a strength in this. There would be I am strong aspect, but there's no strength per se. It's interesting.
Exactly.
And this is actually a point I want to bring up right now because it's like a bit of a thing that works against this game. Because I have tried this out with some of my real life friends, who I explained it to as best I could. And then they didn't understand. So I asked them to read the rules. And as it is with real life friends who like may or may not be super into TTRPGs, who might be there for fun and not to like do homework, it took a few weeks for them to actually everyone get to read the rules. And then we were still not fully understanding them, because just reading them doesn't mean you understand them. It means you kind of better understand them, maybe. And so I think we ended up playing wrong for a while when we tried it out. Not that we played it for a long time, but we did. So yeah, that's a thing where because it is it's like the rules are clear, like they are not super complex, but they are also like they just work into each other in ways that are in some people find hard to grasp. I just found. I'm sorry, this is just how it is.
That's how it is.
Explain fate points, different invoking, declaring story detail. Oh yeah, you can also, if a story detail, if you find something that might help you, you can, for a fate point, declare story detail. This is kind of fine because Fate is supposed to be a collaborative game experience. Yeah, sure, there's players and there's the game master, but you're all telling a story together. So there's also something that not everybody necessarily finds the best. How do I put
That's
this?
a good way to put it.
Some people just don't like the style. I can go either way.
Yeah.
And yeah, we must at this point also talk about compels. Shit, there's too much in here. Like, is it really like it's so weirdly sorted? I think in the book they do this a bit better. The basics aren't like this in the book because it feels like this is like jumping around a lot.
This is okay. So for a little context, this is how Evil Hat Productions likes to do SRDs also, where you're just lots of little subcategories and so on without actually explaining in a way that flows. Instead, it's intended to be, okay, this is a reference. That's fine, right? Yeah, but even references need to educate you on what exactly what you're supposed to be doing here.
Yeah, like,
in a way that makes logical sense.
Yeah, like this feels trying to find something now in here and trying to see where everything is.
Yeah.
I reread my physical book. It feels a bit weird, but yeah. So since they are here right now, it's like invoking an aspect. You said it's a +2. You can do that with a point by paying a fate point. And you get your refresh and fate points to start at every game. Your refresh is 3 usually. You can be less if you take more stunts, which I'll get to why you don't want that. But anyway, and then a story detail, like same thing. You pay, and then the story detail is there, unless the DM objects to it because for reasons. And then there's compels, because you have, as we have in this thing, right, a trouble. Anytime your trouble might come into play, the DM can be like, hey, I think because you are stuck in Honey Jail, there will be some wardens showing up trying to find you right now. And then if you say yes to that, as the player, you get a fate point. You can use. So in the case of the example here, if your aspect is manners of a goat, then in any high society situation, they can just be like, oh, you make a fool of yourself, you anger somebody, here's your fate point. And then if you don't want it, you can pay to have it not happen, basically, by not accepting the point. So the intended play is to have your negatives impact the story and make your problems, and then use your positives to pull you out of those problems, essentially. Which is like, here's the thing. I really wanted to like Fate when I first read it, and I really want to like it now, but I just can't. Because I feel this bargaining gets in the way.
Yes.
One of my big reasons why I don't like it is that this bargaining about problems gets in the way and feels bad to the player. Because there's an argument to be made that it's a good thing for storytelling, of course, because yes, our characters have their weak points, and those weak points get them in trouble. And that's important for a good story, in a way. Yes.
Yes.
But I'd prefer it not to be compelled with game elements like this, where I don't even get to roll anything. I can just bargain with it. I can just be like, nah, I don't want this to be a thing today. Because it feels weird then. Like, why am I able to like turn it off sometimes and not have it be a problem just because I don't want it?
Yep. What we call this in the business is a little bit too much Calvin ball.
Yeah.
Because in essence, when you're doing negotiation like this, where you're like, nah, my flaw doesn't apply today, you're introducing a new rule completely. Now, it sounds like you're not introducing a new rule, but yes, you are. You're introducing a new rule about how your flaw works.
Yeah.
And doing that in the fly is different from negotiating about whether or not your flaw would apply here. Because part of the assumption here is that the outcome of this negotiation is you're supposed to consider that in future aspects of the story as well.
Yes.
Unlike a traditional RPG, where if you have this aspect, the banners of a goat, you would just assume that it would apply in a situation unless it was specifically, well, these are, unless there's a reason that is there from the start. Like you're associated with other people who have the manners of a goat. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Or
But that's not here.
Yeah. Or just you don't even like in many games you would just be like, okay, my character is manners of a goat. I will not attend the ball. I will be like hanging out with the kitchen staff or something.
Yep.
I'll be there, but I won't be in the ball area because it would just be stupid for my character to be there. But in this, you are meant to get in trouble all the dang time for your thing. And as we have established, my trouble is one thing. Even if I write it very broadly, like Manners of a Goat, in my opinion, is a well-written trouble, because this can get you in trouble in lots of different situations with lots of different people. It's going to be social trouble, at least like almost always. I could imagine other things, but you know, it might escalate to other trouble, but you're for the most part just going to rub people the wrong way in situations. If I write a less good trouble, because yeah, all of these are of course freely written, and the game is going to have a lot of ink devoted to how to write them well. But you can't always see that you might not be doing it right in the first try, of course. If you write one that's too narrow, right? Stuck in Horny Jail is a really bad one. Because now the game is to take place in Horny Jail, I suppose. Which is cool if we want that. But if, and is it a flaw then? I don't know. But if we want the game to be anywhere else, it's like an A-team situation where you have to get Murdoch out of the insane asylum every time. There's always going to be a 5-minute interlude of getting Murdoch out of the insane fucking asylum for every adventure. And then the trouble no longer applies, except when in any situation where you want it to as the DM. And then if the trouble gets you, and you're back in Horny Jail, and you're going to have to get out again somehow. Like, that's really that's my second problem with it. That, okay, you want aspects? I really like the aspects as an idea, but you want it to be 5, and that's it. And I think that's technically really not enough. It's not enough for me.
It's really not.
Like a character in Shadowrun can have more than 5 flaws on their sheet that all can come into play.
Yep.
And then they all still have positive aspects, and they have attributes that inform stuff.
Yep.
And in this, every information has to come from 5 sentences.
Yep. All of it. Every last bit of it. And depending on the setting book, some of the setting books give you one of those sentences based on a choice that you make within the game system. I'm trying to give you an example off the top of my head, but I remember seeing it in more than a few of the Fate books. And honestly, if the whole selling point is you write 5 sentences and you make up what you want, if you're taking away one of those choices from somebody by having a limiting factor of 10 sentences to pick from, like corresponding to fantasy races or something, that winds up being bad for the overall game design.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But so, well, okay. So these are compels. Let's just keep going in the game for now. So what do we do first? Well, assuming we're playing Fate Core, right? So we don't have a setting. So we need one. So before we even make a character, we have to make a setting.
Yeah.
And they are going to devote a whole thing here in the SRD to making a setting that is pretty much just sword and sorcery basic ass setting, which is kind of I feel a very lost opportunity here because it's just stinky, it's just boring, but whatever. So you decide on a scale. Actually, we can kind of go through these example things here. Amanda, Lenny, Lily, and Ryan sit down to talk about the setting. By the way, if you have two L's in your, just make a name that's not with an L, because no one's gonna remember these, and then at least I don't.
No, I'm not either.
Recently read some of the Puffer and the Grey Mouse stories, so they pitch two guys in the Girl with Swords, but it's vaguely medieval, Earth with the serial numbers filed off. So imagine, what game do we want to play? Oh, let's play a fantasy game in Fantasyland. Population fantasy creatures. Wow. I didn't need to make this setting for it to exist.
No.
For instance,
Really didn't.
guy and girl with swords and guy without a sword. That there's difference between the two guys. Also because he wants to play someone who's more bookish. For contrast, everybody's on board with this, and then they move on. Okay, cool.
Like, okay, I have to step in and say one thing. These examples, they feel kind of insulting.
Yeah.
Because it feels like you guys don't know how to play games at all. You guys have no creativity at all. You can't think of anything past two guys with swords, and also a girl with sword. And then you have to modify it slightly to make it better. And your idea is, oh, the guy doesn't have a sword. It feels, it just feels like I'm being talked down to in the worst way.
Yeah,
like, this is something that I would come up with. No, it's not. Fuck you.
Yeah, but, and here's the thing, and this is really my real problem with the game. If you sit down, my friends and I, my real life friends and I, to come up with a game with a setting together, then it will be me coming up with the setting alone, because I don't, like, bless my friends, they are not creative in that way.
Yeah.
They will just tell you, oh, it should be like other campaign we played. Oh, can we have orcs? I want to play an orc. I'm like, you can write an aspect that you are an orc. Yeah, sure. Then, yeah. Like, the game assumes you're playing with equally creative people who are equally deeply committed to making the game together. At least for the SRD they do. If you're playing a setting thing, then obviously mileage may vary for the setting. Like, I tried to do an established world with this. Didn't work well. I tried to do a write this together thing, and it ended up exactly as a very generic fantasy, because that's what people like were saying they wanted to have. I have this idea for a rogue I want to play. Can we just play that? Can you just play that next time we do D&D then, maybe, and come up with a new character here? But that's my idea. I want to play that. You can't really say no to that. If it's their idea and they want to play it, then it's fine, of course. But so would you end up with, if people are used to playing D&D, say, you end up with 3 D&D characters that we are now going to put into aspects, because that's what they want.
Yep.
And that's what this is. This is 2 swords people and a wizard. Going to be what this ends up as.
Yeah.
Like this is literally that. And then then we look at game scale next. So if you have too generic a system, whatever you try to do with it, the more specialized system is going to do it better. Yes, I would say this is avoidable problems, and I get to why when we've talked through this section, Waggles. So when they like survive and things that shine as a small scale game where they might travel from town to town, but the problems they have to deal with are local, like a Thieves Guild or the region's vile machinations. Like I have no problem with the scale decisions. This is actually one I do like. If you can ask your players beforehand, before you start the game, hey, do you want a global scale problems? Do you want to be epic heroes, or do you want to be like local heroes that solve like more personal issues?
Yep.
This is, I'm gonna say outright, is a good thing, and you should maybe think about incorporating that into your own questions for a game scenario.
Oh yeah.
Because
Is this
so you go.
Is this Bocce the Rock, or is this Gurren Lagann for scale? Like
exactly.
It's so important. It's so important. And it's I think the largest expectation, even more than is this fantasy, is this sci-fi.
Yeah, because like that's one of the strengths here. If you have a +4 in this game, it doesn't really tell you what that means. It doesn't really say you are the world best at something. It just says you're good at sword fighting, let's say. So you can use the same rules for world level play as you can for local play, like local problems. Which then that's, in my opinion, kind of a weakness of the game. But also, at least the question is good. The question is very good. Like I had a lot of fun in Shadowrun playing gangers on drugs. We had a long-standing campaign where we played these gangers. And like we had to, the rules was you can't exploit the systems, and the highest skill you can have is a 3. And then we had like people with 6-7 dice, and it was really fun to fight because suddenly a guy with a pistol is actually a problem. Like with normal runners, it's just like, what do you mean to say he pulled out a pistol? Are we supposed to be intimidated by that? But if you are like a ganger with like shitty armor and 50 new into your name, and the only medic you know is your friend who is currently high on speed, but you don't want him to pull out the bullets, so you might de-escalate the situation with this guy with his pistol. But I digress.
I want to give an example of something similar that I did once. I did a vampire game in a similar vein, except everybody was quote unquote a fledgling who only had 1 dot and 1 discipline.
Ooh.
So everybody had to be very creative about how they used that discipline, but then at the same time, they discovered early on, oh fuck, we're all daywalkers. We can actually go out in the sun when we were told we shouldn't. Oh no, everybody's going to put us down now. So that was the twist, was there's a reason why all their powers were so low powered and why they were so shitty at everything. And it turned out that was the reason why. So it was kind of the inverse of Blade, where, okay, he's the Daywalker, so he's so super powerful. No, these guys were weak and shitty. And they were all out of their types. Like, one guy was, could have been a character from The Office, you know, that kind of level of character.
Nice.
And if scale is so important because you can have just as much fun with a tiny scale like that versus big scale. And then you can suddenly the knob got turned on them, and suddenly it's a big scale thing because they're all daywalkers. Like then you have that thing that you can also turn if you care about that kind of thing.
Yeah, but that's something that this game doesn't want you to do. If you agreed upon like local, then you stay local.
Yep.
Which honestly, I agree with you there. It is good as the DM to be able to say, well, now suddenly the stakes have raised. What do you do?
Yes.
Then the office worker has to step up or sink away. Like, it's interesting what the people do when the stakes raise.
I refer to this as the Bruce Campbell effect because all of those characters he's ever played are like that.
Yeah. Okay, and then next step for the creation of a game, you're supposed to together come up with some current and impending issues. And that's like kind of free form. You come up with whatever you want, basically, and to give it a name. The Scar Triad and the Doom that is to come. Which Doom that is to come is a shitty one, in my opinion. Because that tells us nothing.
I
Led
hate
by
those.
the Cult of Tranquility, like, okay, so we don't know the Doom, but the Cult of Tranquility is to blame, right? That's okay. They are into racketeering and other nasty stuff, the Scar Triad. So, aspects, as we see here, also don't inform you enough sometimes. Because the Scar Triad is an aspect in the game. But that doesn't tell you what they do, so you have to write down further information.
Yep.
Okay. That's not saying that's bad. That's of course necessary, but yeah. And then the book is the thing is like, yeah, well, people are gonna talk about what these people do and what these aspects, the negative aspects, as antagonists do together and figure this out. Like that's at my table couldn't happen. I'm sorry, but it's just not how my friends rolled back then.
Yep.
And I think it is not easy to find 4 people or 5 people that are like that can just come up collaboratively with a story together. Next, but then okay, whatever. Next step, faces and places. Some people and some places, basically. Just come up with them. This is fair enough. Of course, in this example, they come up with like literally also the most generic shit ever. Riverton. There's 2 rivers here, so it's up for trade. Thanks. Riverton. Okay.
No.
Like, and this shows, I think, unbeknownst to the author almost, the problem as well with this is, yeah, it's good. What the shit's gonna come up with, like on the fly, it's gonna be generic. There's a reason authors have passes on their books before they publish them.
Yes.
Because, yeah, you're gonna write Riverton on your first pass because you haven't decided on like a theme for the names of your book yet. But you're gonna come back to it and be like, man, I really have to rename Riverton before this gets published. And you can get away with one of those names. In like King's Landing or something. Even that informs you that, okay, that's the way King landed, so that's why they call it that. So why it happened there? It's more intriguing than Riverton. And then, Hugo the Sheriff, the Lieutenant of the Scar Triad. This aspect is everyone in Riverton fears me. Oh, okay, wow. Okay. Hugo. The Scar Triad.
Hugo. Oh my goodness. Yes, and every fantasy, okay, not every single one, but so many have a dorn in them. Like, that's a good example of a word that a lot of people have used that everybody thought, oh, this is creative at the time. No. Oh, it gets used so many times. And it always ends up being, this is where the Spaniards or the quasi-Spaniards live.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but it just keeps happening.
Yeah. And we see it as the last example here. We talk about there's a Primarch of this cult, but it's a mystery who that is, so we won't come with it. So this is the only aspect the DM comes up with alone here.
Oof.
I scoff at that as DM, because I would like to come up with my own story, please. And I will anyway in this, because once we start playing, is Hugo the Charitable gonna be important for the whole campaign? I don't think so. Like, there's gonna be more NPCs that will get that get pushed onto the scene over and over by sheer necessity of the party, like leaving Riverton, for example. It's just the least likely scenario out of our ass first. Like, there's one town, so they go to a different one, maybe along the river. Like, then Hugo is no longer interesting, so then the DM comes up with shit anyway. So why are the players drilling down to this detail? I don't know. Partly, I guess, because you can come up with like sympathetic NPCs who you might have to help and stuff. I understand more why that would be people that maybe you come up with. But also at the same time, the best NPCs usually aren't the ones you come up with as a player. The best NPCs are made by like if you do the DM breathes life into them. But yeah,
Oh yeah.
But TLDR, you come up with everything together, and then you make characters after that. And how does that work? Well, okay. You have a character idea, which is your high concept. Again, like they give a lot of examples here to their credit. Like lead detective, knight of the round, low-level thug. These are high concepts. Despicable region of Riverton, reluctant lead detective, ambitious low-level thug. These are better aspects. Because why are they better? Because they add a descriptor.
That's just literally it. Just a descriptor.
And then wizard private eye, singing knight of the round table, monster slaying accountant. These are all, they are odd combinations, but they work, I guess. So that's an interesting aspect. And then Black Sheep of the Thompson family, low-level thug for the Syndicate, Scar Triads, Patsy in Riverton. These are probably not player characters at this point, but yeah, every NPC should have at least this much as well, to inform like what they can do.
Yep.
And then they give examples here again. We are a disciple of the Ivory Shroud, meaning we now have to say what the fucking Ivory Shroud is, because it's mysteries, martial arts, and all that implies. Wow. Infamous girl with sword. The girl with sword thing really sends me as well here, but okay. Keeping the girl with sword part makes her giggle, so she wants to say it often during the game. Okay, cool. Wizard for hire is the third character. Okay. And then you come up with a trouble for your character. Again, this is the one that you are supposed to invoke for points. So, anger management issue, sucker for pretty face, the bottle calls to me, family man, debt to the mob, the Scar Triad wants me dead. The criminal underworld hates me is dull, but Don Giovanni personally hates me is good. Okay. So manners of a goat is when they sent on, tempted by shiny things, and rivals in the Collegia Arcana. So looking at these like written out as examples, right? Manners of a goat, I think hits it okay, because that really can apply to many situations. Tempted by shiny things, not good. Why? Because tempted just means I will say no to it more, right? Because I'm just tempted.
Yep.
I'm not compulsively collecting shiny things, for example.
Yep. That is an important distinction, actually.
And rivals in the Collegia Arcana for your wizard. That can also apply nearly anywhere. Oh, you want information from the sage? Well, the sage doesn't like you because his friend is from the Collegia. And that guy poo-pooed your reputation with him. So now you have to do something for him to make it better. Like, yeah, sure. These are broad enough that you can always come up with stuff. The problem with all of it is it's personal. Personal problems.
Yep.
You're going to spend a lot of time adjudicating about personal problems in this game. And of course, every RPG is going to be about that. If my troll is trying to sneak in Shadowrun and my troll has 1 die for that, I'm probably in trouble if whoever I'm sneaking away from finds me, and they probably will, because again, I have 1 die. But that involves the other player characters and makes them all complicit in it, because we're probably sneaking together. In this, if I have the manners of a goat, I get myself in trouble. Why would that apply negatively to the other player characters? Well, they brought me to the place where thing happens, where I can get in trouble, I guess. So then that begs the question, why go? Why am I at this thing where I get in trouble for my manners if the other player characters know? Like, if you can boil down every negative aspect of a character down to one little sentence like this, then what in a normal game would happen is, we know your manners suck. You're going to be in the kitchen for this. You're not going to be with the other people. Just hang out with the kitchen staff.
Yep.
Shoot the breeze with the with the coach people. You know, something like that. If I know tempted by shiny things, then it's like, no, you're not going to the museum to meet the Johnson, because you're going to steal something. You're going to make sure you get paid well. You're just going to be there digitally or something. And rivals in the collegia, oh, this is like like a guy who knows things. You shouldn't talk to him because he might not like you. Let me talk to him. He doesn't know me. There's easy ways to like to subvert this, but the game doesn't want you to take them, and that after a while makes me makes the story feel weird. Because why
Really
after
does.
the 10th time our friend gets in trouble for his manners, are we still bringing him along for stuff where that can happen? Because it's our trouble now too, isn't it? And yes, they also talk about there could be moments where this is a benefit. Sure.
Yeah, sure.
But for the most part, it's supposed to be a trouble. That's why it's called a trouble.
It's supposed to be.
And you're getting your fate points from it. So you need to make it a trouble. It's not like the avoidance is actually bad, but it leads to weirdness. Like the characters don't learn a lesson from their troubles. And even if they do, you have to rewrite your trouble then, because you always have one.
Yep. Yep. Your character never gets an improvement or has an arc with that. And this is a domain in which, as a longtime vampire player and storyteller, I would refer to these as roleplay disablers rather than roleplay enablers. And the reason why is you only get a point if you do the thing that you're bad at, and all the rest of the time you probably should be avoiding doing that thing if you don't want to go and get your special point. That's terrible. And the reason why that's terrible is it doesn't add anything to the game for you to role play in the manner of a goat and for everybody to know that you're going out of your way to do it, except that you and all your friends in the meta, meaning not in the role play, but just out of character, know you're getting a point or a benefit or a die because you decided to do that.
Yep.
And that's terrible if that's the constant.
Yes, I agree. That the difference is me knowing I have the bad manners and playing them and getting myself in trouble on purpose as a player versus me being coy. I feel like being coy about it describes it well. Me being like, ooh, I'm gonna go to the function. Oh, but you have bad manners. Will you accept this fate point to have fuck up at the function? And you're like, ooh, how very despicable of you, DM, that you give me the fate point. Yes, I will accept it. Because I really needed a fucking fate point, because I only have one. I needed a second fate point. Like I'm just there transactionally, basically.
Yeah.
And yeah, I really do not like this. And I think it's pretty clear why now.
Yeah. I'd rather roleplay, reward you for the good roleplay of you roleplaying that well, rather than you just doing it.
Yeah. When we played this, people would not really want to do this because it felt artificial.
Yeah.
And I think that's definitely true. Because another thing about this game is, yes, it's supposed to be a collaborative like storytelling game. It's not supposed to be a DM, I do this. Oh, that happens, DM? Okay, then I'll do this next game. It's supposed to be a more abstract thing where I am like, well, I would like to get into this the hidden chamber in the Baron's castle. okay, we can do that as a series of little rolls, and then we can see how it goes. That's how this game is supposed to be played. You aren't supposed to moment to moment as much. But even then, like, again, it ends up feeling artificial to get into these troubles all the time, or to always, like, you also shoehorn yourself in much the same way with your positive things. If you're a kinky vamp as your high concept, you're always going to approach every situation as, what can a kinky vamp get out of this? What can I do as this descriptor that I'll get a bonus with? How can I invoke my aspects here? Yes, you have more aspects than that, but you only have 3 more. So it's not like you have many things to work with. And the game also more or less is silent on, what do I do in a situation where I don't have anything? Then you're just supposed to roll dice normally. That's the only thing it really gives you.
You're basically supposed to be mediocre at it, whatever it is.
Yeah. But then the weird thing is you can have a +4 at that thing. Because you can also make your character make no sense in that way very easily. Like, you're not supposed to, but you can. We get to that. So, okay. Now we get to the face trio, which is like nothing to do with face connect, don't worry. What's this? Well, the other 3 aspects, TLDR, you're supposed to get by playing a little adventure that another player DMs for you. And I'm sitting there when I came to this point as reading this book for the first time back in, I don't know, years ago. I was like, oh no, this is not gonna work, because of the 3 friends I played with, one literally DM'd once. We broke his game very quickly because he hadn't thought out of the box for it, and then he took an hour to come up with like a solution to the first thing we did out of pocket. And then he never DM'd again because, like, I can't wrap my mind around. I'm not thinking on my feet that well. Like, I can think in terms of my character at the table, but I can't come up with scenarios that aren't just that and think on my feet then and be like, okay, understood. And the next person was very, I won't say lazy, but like, let's just say usually took the easier way with things. Like, the characters would be stereotypes. So I was like, this should be a good game for them. And yeah, it was. But also they were very bad at coming up with any adventure for anyone, because that's also, we're going to use stereotypes for that. And so TLDR, yeah, I DM'd the things and I gave them the aspects from it, because, well, that's what I'm going to do. It just didn't work. But what's supposed to happen, each character basically gets their aspects off of little vignettes that happen to them that might involve another character, or should involve another character actually, because you're supposed to know each other at the start of the game. And then you together spin this yarn about what the characters already did together and how these moments inform like something about the world. And the stuff they come up with, like, I owe old Finn everything, is the first one they come up with. It's like, some guy is old Finn, and we are, if he's in trouble, we are going to do something. So you can already see, if that was my second thing here, that's not going to come up very often unless old Finn is in the game. Is he going to be in the game? But he lives somewhere, and if we leave there, then the aspect is dead. So that's not great. And then was be a sucker for a sob story. Okay, that one is fine, right? I feel like that one's fine. And I got Zird's back. Zird is, I think, one of the player characters. So you get +2 when you help that guy. So even in their own examples, they basically give you things that are way more specific for aspects. than what would be useful to roleplay with, in my opinion.
Yep.
Like
Way too specific.
Useful aspects might be like, again, anything that would come up often. Like the first one they give you is contingent upon being at the same area as Old Finn.
Yeah.
And how, and I guess no, we have to be, because otherwise that aspect is pointless. It's like, imagine if Rahila's character was like, well, we can't leave town. My temple is here. Because I get a +2 from my temple if I do something for my temple. And then the only way around that is temple tells her, no, do that thing. And then from then on, Old Finn told me that, so I get a +2 because I want to do what Old Finn wants. Forever. There's no like variation to that. Like, it's really hard to explain, hard to put into words what my frustrations are with this, because some of this is good, some of this is just not. Like sucker for a sub-story FP is fine, because that can apply in any situation, regardless of where we are. And that's not like contingent upon like a different person or whatever. One works okay. And then I got Zietz back. I got another player characters back. Okay. So you don't have the other player characters back then?
Yeah, I hate that. I just really hate that. If it was a situation where we had a bond system, sure, go for it. But this is not that. This is aspects. This is supposed to be central pillars of your character. Like,
yeah.
Like, is that what your character is defined by? Like, even if we divorce them from everything else, that's what your character is defined by? It doesn't have the verisimilitude that you need to capture in a generic system like this, because a generic system is supposed to capture that verisimilitude. And if I'm unable to do that, then I'm better off playing a more specific game where, like, if somebody had an aspect like this, and I don't know, vampire, I've always got the back of any gangrel I meet. Bam, suddenly it's useful because it's connected to the greater world, and then it's more generic than just this one guy, because it should be a much more generic thing than just Zerd. Maybe people who are like Zerd. Maybe Zerd was a treasure hunter. I've got the back of any treasure hunter. Bam, suddenly it's better. And it actually, like, can be more interesting in the world, because then the GM can then introduce, I don't know, a treasure hunter that you encounter, and instantly one character really wants to help this guy, and maybe the treasure hunter has a sob story, suddenly it's connecting another player, etc., etc. You get my point. It connects things way more, much faster, if you genericize, interestingly enough, in a generic system.
Yeah. And last but not least, game assumes you have 3 players. If you have less, you do less of this. You do only 1 or 2 aspects, and then leave the rest blank to be filled during play. Just why not just allow that? Why not just do that anyway? Like, why the whole thing? So okay, my if I had to sum up this section, is like, okay, so other players gonna DM little adventures for other players that explain why their characters know each other, and that inform the play. So let's be charitable here and say these are 30-minute little vignettes, right? Because we want to, that's, with 3 players, that means you have a whole evening filled with just that, because you need 3 of these per player.
Yep.
1 is the DM and 2 is the players. Because if you have 3 players, 1 is DM, 2 other players. So you have actually, so 90 minutes per player character. So 4.5 hours. That's a session. That's for most people, that's going to be the session. Nothing that's going to happen. So this is day 2 of you wanting, like, doing this. This is your second session 0 time, because the first time you talked about the world. You are not going to know these characters even after these adventures. And that is one of the most interesting and cool times in any RPG is when you don't know the other player characters fully yet.
Yes.
That guy has probably, like, I don't know where he came from. I just know he's cool and he slings spells. And we're going to find out later about his interesting backstory. In this, you already know the backstory because you came up with it earlier, collaboratively.
Yep.
And now you are, like, supposed to come up with other aspects for the character. So there's 2 outcomes here. Either you already know everything, and now what's there left to reveal and grow with? Or, well, even with the things we revealed, there's more aspects to this character, so we don't actually know them. So the information we have is spotty and incorrect. We used to base these aspects on. I don't think this helps anyone, this part. I really don't. I really find this one of the weakest aspects of this whole thing. Mainly because it's again having the little mysteries that your character, like, whoa, where's my character from? Why does Zarifa like sleeping in the meat? These are questions that might be interesting to answer. They might also just be one of funny things we said that might grow into something. Who knows? But
Who knows?
by answering them earlier, by being like, yeah, I own Old Finn everything because he raised me, and I'm gonna, like, if he wants something, I'm gonna do it. And so, yeah. So there isn't a unknown benefactor to my character, no, that I would not necessarily talk to anyone about. No, it's just Old Finn, and we all, at least out of character, know this. And it feels messy, is just what I'm getting at. It just feels messy.
It's very messy. The examples make me wince still. I already gave better examples after thinking about it for literally less than 2 seconds. It's and this isn't me patting myself on the back. I'm just saying that it just feels constant like I'm just being assumed to be just an idiot while I'm reading this, and I really hate that.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't the prime directive. You fucked up. Go do homework. This is you already fucked up by coming to the table. You idiot. You owe Finn everything now.
It's a more subtle version of the Pondsmith, where he just, like, assumes he's the cool guy. Just to explain everything to you.
Yeah, it is. And I feel like this is a through line with a lot of Evil Hat productions, because there's some of that in Blades of the Dark too. It's not as heavy-handed as it is here, but there is some aspect of, well, you're dumb, so here's what equipment means. Like, dude.
Like, yeah, it feels like it says something that all the examples, like, float around a setting, and I like a setting that people came up with in their idea space here. That is like generic sword and sorcery. We might as well be playing like D&D kind of thing. Like, why not go weird with it in your examples and make it interesting? But I don't know. Well,
yeah.
Enough. We're going to talk about that forever if we don't stop. So next, there's skills. You have, and you get 1 at +4, 2 at +3, 3 at +2, and 4 at +1. Or you get 20 points. That's also possible.
Yep.
It says somewhere that you can. I forgot. I think it's later in character creation, because this is character creation, so I don't know. It says it somewhere.
Wait.
Yeah.
20 skill points is right there.
Yeah. So we're gonna get to what skills are later. We can take a quick look. Statistics, burglary, contacts, crafts, deceive, drive, empathy, fight, investigate, law, notice, physique, provoke, rapport. Is also shoot, wealth, and will. And you would just, if you have like, I don't know, have law at 3, I would write law here.
Yeah.
And then I have empathy at 3, I don't know. I'll put it here. And then I have drive at 1 or something like that, you know. And then you have like this many skills basically. Okay. So far, nothing to say except okay.
Yeah, pretty much okay. Pretty straightforward, honestly, compared to everything else.
Stunts and refresh. They are going to explain stunts in more detail later, but I already kind of said. I've really read this example, and I'm like, oh my god, what do I even say to that?
Yeah, what do I even say?
I'm getting stunts later. I don't want to right now.
That's how it is. There's some parts of it that I don't want it right now.
Yeah. So, stress and consequences. If I take a sword strike in this game, I am not taking 5 hit points off my hit points or something. No. I can defend against the sword strike, and let's say I roll a +3, and the attacker rolls a +5. Already talked about it. In this case, I would have to X out my 2 stress physical, because it's a sword strike.
Mm-hmm.
And I would describe, oh, he got me on the shoulder, but there's nothing to worry about yet. I'm just like nicked. Okay. They hit you again for a 2. Now we have a mild consequence. And we can name that whatever we want. And it's going to lower your physical rolls. And that's what that says.
Yep.
Consequences are the injuries and traumas you can't just shake off after the dust settles, because your stress. Like imagine, like Bruce Willis gets shot in the shoulder in Die Hard. That's stress, because it doesn't slow him down really. It just looks a little worse for wear. But if you have only stress damage, it's going to basically be gone after the scene. We don't have to worry about it. It's only important for this fight or this scene. So, recalculation, I think, is... Yeah, it's fine. So, talking about types of aspects. I already looked at this, I think. No, this is just more.
It was just granulating it in a way that's...
And we come to something I really like about this game, is situational aspects. Because what the game wants to do is give like areas and the place you are in a aspect or aspects. Like if we are in a smoky underground bar, there might be an aspect of it's like not well lit, so we would have minuses to perception checks, for example.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And then most importantly, I can be like, well, if it's not well lit, can I use this to sneak around? Like, can I get in the back room because no one can really notice me that well? And the DM can be like, yes, you can evoke that aspect of the area for yourself. Mm-hmm. This is something I really like in this game, and I think this game does it very well, is situational aspects. Mm-hmm. This is something you should honestly steal for other games.
Yes, 100%.
Just be like, yeah, this area that's dense underbrush, you're going to be slow. And it's going to, if you want to do acrobatics, it's going to be difficult. But, and if you are up in the treehouse, it's going to be a sniper's perch, because it's just a good visual, it has good visuals in all directions, because that's what it was built for, and so on and so forth, right? But it's just literally on fire. Mm-hmm. And you can use these. You can invoke these like other aspects too, and that's cool. I like this.
It's very strong. I would refer to this as anatomy of a scene. Yeah. It's like you would describe the anatomy of a person. They have blue eyes. brown hair, etc. You're doing the same thing with a scene, as if
Yeah.
it's a character, as I often like to emphasize with regards to the setting. The setting is a character in the room, so why wouldn't you describe it in the same way as an NPC?
Yeah. Yep. Yep. And then they have consequences. They explain what that is a bit more. Consequences are more permanent than situation aspect, which is more quite permanent as a character sheet. Quite as permanent as a character aspect. There's a special kind of aspect you take in order to avoid getting taken out of conflict. And they describe lasting injuries or problems that take away from a conflict. Dislocated shoulder, bloody nose, social pariah. I would argue that social pariah wouldn't just go away very quickly, but whatever. It could be a 6 consequence.
Oh yeah, that's pretty good for a 6 consequence.
Yeah. They stick around for some scenes or for a whole scenario, and then yeah, they can be invoked against you. Basically, if you have a bloody nose, you might get blood in your eyes. I don't know. If you have dislocated shoulder, someone could inflict you pain by pulling on it or something. And then then we have boosts. And this is really where the game lost me completely. Because so far, we have these aspects and we have the way to invoke them. And while it might not be my cup of tea, I can see it working. Even consequences fine, because yeah, again, these are going to stick around for a bit. These are basically just aspects you have until you can deal with them. They're negative, but obviously they are. What are boosts then? Well, anytime you make like a successful thing happen. Let's say I want to open a lock. And the DM tells me, well, you need a 3 to do that, and I roll a 4. Then I can use my difference to have a boost, which is a +2 to something. If I open a lock, I can say, well, I opened it and this was so well oiled, I'm going to have a +2 to sneak into the next room. And the only thing that boosts do is you have to use them immediately. And that sounds cool so far. But the issue is, for me, that they are meant to be used all the dang time and add up. So I'm meant to, mostly when I do a thing, take at least 1 point of my success and create this. Why? Well, think about it. I hit you with my sword. I did it by 2. If I give you a level 2 stress, it doesn't do that much, right? I mean, it is filling this bar. But what if I only gave you a 1 physical stress, but also gave you a little off balance, and on the next attack, I get +2 to my attack because I can invoke that for free because I gave it to you earlier. I'm glad you like it, Kari. Why is this annoying me? Because it complicates your game that was so simple.
Yep.
Because now I have to keep track of, do I have a little off balance still? No, that was 2 turns ago. Oh, I thought it held for more than 1 turn because I refreshed it from my other attack. Oh, you're right. And obviously it helps you a lot, because if we look at the dice thing, basics somewhere. Yeah. This is your roll spread, basically, from -4 to 4. So if you rolled a -2, you had a 93.8% chance to not roll, to be a roll better than that. And the TLDR is, if your spread is this and it's on a bell curve, then having a +2 is very, very good. One could say it's too good. One could say that it's essentially a free win next turn. So you always want to do these. And the problem is that everyone's going to think that way very quickly, even if they don't initially understand this. They will understand it after the first combat or first antagonistic thing that happens. That creating these little, what are they called? Fuck, I forgot. These boosts, right? Boosts is just the best thing you can do. And so you are going to have to deal with character aspects, enemy aspects, situational aspects, and boosts at all times. That's more shit to deal with than you have to deal with in most other games. All of a sudden.
Yep.
And it makes this game hard to run, genuinely. Because, like, in a normal session of Shadowrun, I can be like, okay, I have 5 security guards. And after a combat turn, like, I crossed out one because he got knocked out of the fight. He might not be dead, but he's certainly playing dead after eating like a big punch or something. He doesn't want to play anymore. And another guy has 6 damage, and I can remember. Oh yeah, that guy got shot from the gel round shotgun by the orc player. Okay, cool. The other 3 are fresh and coming through the door. So those guys are going to be gung ho. But the guy with the shotgun, there's 8 a shotgun shell. They're only gel, but still, that guy's just going to go for cover next turn. I can remember that in my head. But now in this game, this is all codified into little aspects and rules and consequences that I all have to write down for every little guy in the game. And yes, there is a concept in this for like how like mooks go down way easier than like actual enemies. Like there's like levels. Like to their credit, there's. But still, I have to remember these things for a lot of stuff.
You do.
For the players, for the important NPCs, for some of the less important NPCs. And then also like things might change on the fly suddenly. Like you threw a Molotov, well, that area is on fire now. So I have to include the on fire there. You're gonna shuffle a lot of index cards around, which is the kind of the game wants you to have index cards. So.
Oh yeah, it really does. It really does.
Okay. Make a good aspect of playing. Right. Oh yeah, all right. We're gonna get to this now. Wait, let me press these together. Yeah, this is where we extend boosts, right? So that's where we are. What aspects do? You connect to keep. Well, I think we went over pretty much.
Yeah, we did aspects pretty. Yeah.
And they're like. They're not like again, like they try to help you with this at least. This is again to their credit.
Yeah, they do try. But...
They try to tell you like how to write your aspects in a way that they aren't boring. Like, what do we have? First one is kind of cringe, but still, Computer Genius is bad because it doesn't tell you much about the character.
Yeah, really
Nerdy McNerdson, I would say, is a pretty shit descriptor of anyone, but it's better than Computer Genius because it does imply that they know computers because they are nerds. And this is clearly like some sort of alpha mega nerd. So that's an aspect that can be used against you, that you could invoke against you, but also that could help you in many situations. So yeah, aspect wise, it works. I would say it's like of its time when they wrote it. I must prove myself. But or the Legion demands to prove myself. Who's the Legion? Well, that's an interesting question.
Yep,
that is. Not a good main aspect, but a good side aspect, like one of your 3, basically. At least it involves like an organization as opposed to just one guy.
One thing I failed to mention about the boosts. The whole purpose of that originally was to do what's referred to as fiction forward, where you do a thing, you do it good, so that lets you propel the fiction forward. Meaning, trying to incentivize you did good things, so now next thing you do will be even gooder.
Yeah.
Which every time I've played with that kind of thing, where like it's ironclad, you have to remember all these little bonuses, yada yada yada, because the fiction has to move forward constantly based on the success of the last one. The problem is that it all screeches to a halt the moment somebody quote unquote fails something
Oh yeah.
or doesn't do good enough,
Yeah.
because it's supposed to snowball, and artificially inducing snowballing is no.
Yeah.
Just no. It just let snowballing happen as it happens, rather than attempting to artificially do it.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that's one problem with this system.
Something that I didn't mention about it. That's also important. The system says you can allow other players to use your boosts, but the default system assumes that it's your boost and you are going to use it next turn.
Yep.
And that, in my opinion, actually makes it worse, because now you have to keep track on potentially 3 boosts by 3 different people on the same person.
Yep.
And
Exactly.
our house rule when we played was always no boost can be used by anyone, and always will be used. Because if one player puts a guy off balance, and off balance is literally the example, why would the next player not benefit if it uses it?
Yeah.
Like, makes no sense. But yeah, boosts can also have more than one use, but the uses go away after like a few turns. Basically, if you don't use it, it loses one of its uses per turn, I think. It's like, okay. Again, a bunch of text about these characters we made up, and memories, wishes, and regrets. Yeah, this is. There was about the phrase. It's just a kind of melancholy about the past. Especially, how does it help you? Yeah, it doesn't. Like, yeah, and so scars from the war. Okay. I would say scars from the war is probably also not very good, but I guess better.
It's better. Yeah, it's not quite there.
Yeah,
I just.
This is another thing I ran into with my friends when we tried to play this. If you're good at like writing these, they're gonna play way more. Like, right? Because if one like, if we can describe, I'm good at fighting as great swords fighter, or we can describe it as swashbuckling hero. These both make you good at sword fighting, but the swashbuckling hero can use the hero part of his aspect way more often than the fighter can use the fighter aspect, because the fighter aspect already is included in, like, it's already part and parcel anyway. So what we encountered a lot was, oh, can I rewrite my thing to make sound like this now, so that it's like better? And the game allows you this technically in between sessions, but we just allowed it in session as well at the start, because yeah, you're not going to come up with the perfect like ironclad pronunciation of what you want immediately. It's going to take you a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, so invoking and compelling. Oh yeah, we didn't mention this yet, but you can also re-roll instead of taking a +2. You mostly don't want to, because mostly the +2 is just better. But if you wrote a minus, like if you wrote a -3 or -4, you do want to do it. -2 probably as well. Otherwise, probably better to take the +2. If you wrote real garbage, then re-rolling is usually better. Because rolling something better than a -4 is not hard in this. -4 is literally a 1 in 3, 1 in 6. Yeah, it's very unlikely. It's like 1 point something %. So yeah. But we're gonna keep talking about taking +2 because it's the far more likely scenario. Because but one thing I like about this game is that your expected result of the system is -1, 0, or +1 in equal measure. But in all of those cases, it would also be better to take the +2 automatically. What is this going on? I think. Oh yeah, this is one other thing that I found very weird that comes up here. So, yeah, right. So, what we didn't talk about, and which is also really important, so I have to reread this really quick to make sure I understand it, and I will say it right. The thing we said earlier was like manners of a goat. Oh, you're going to the function, they're going to use that to fuck up, right? You're going to fuck up, right? Holds up fate point. Poker chip, and that represents the fate point. If you say yes, you get the fate point. If you say no, I don't fuck up, you have to pay 1 fate point. So two of my players in the game when we played this would literally not go to places where their thing could be compelled because it didn't want to make trouble.
That's a big oof.
So they didn't get the fate points, but they also didn't pay anything because they weren't there for me to compel it. Like, the game assumes the players are going to be gung-ho about getting their aspects compelled.
Yep.
I don't find that to be true. Because, like, imagine a normal scenario. Like, imagine our Fabula game. And imagine if suddenly every player character had this happen to them constantly. They would quickly become a point where they're like, oh my god, we can't keep making new trouble for the group. I'm just not going to do this. I'm just going to stay away. I'm just going to, in this case, pay the point and then just going to excuse myself out of the scene so that we can actually get to the fucking story that we want to tell. Because who cares if this Baroness now hates me? It's not going to tie back to the game. Like, and then it's up to the DM a lot of the time to tie it back to the game, because otherwise it's just random bullshit that just happened and that doesn't matter. Because that's also the one thing, the thing the game is very silent on is, okay, I compelled the aspect, I made trouble for the player. Do I have consequences ever? I don't know. The game just assumes the DM will do that. The DM will now, like, you're the Baroness is part of the triad, I guess. No. Maybe they work for her, or she is like embroiled with them somehow. So that it makes sense why this would be bad. Because otherwise you just open a new door for new problems that no one agreed to play. And the game is very big on agree what the problems are first, so...
Yeah. The game is so rock solid about doing that first. Yeah, it's this. The best example for this is ironically Bruce's character. If we decided to do this with Bruce's character, that'd be a nightmare. It'd be a total nightmare. Because every single scene would be, oh my god, it's undead! Run! Sound the alarm! Like, what? No, like that doesn't create role play. That really inhibits it. There's no middle ground. It's either go hard with the thing or don't. And I don't like that. I like the idea of having little tiny middle ground thing. Like, you kind of want it to be invoked. Do you want people to be mildly unsettled by you being undead? Or do you want them to get the pitchforks? Like, I think the granularity of roleplay is so important. And I talk about it so much now because 5e is very all or nothing. And then people often say Pathfinder 2e, well, they have lots of ways to get critical success. Yes, but like if things go wrong, we'll critically fail on a 19.
Yeah.
Like there's the granularity still gets kicked to the curb,
Mhm.
and then this is another one where. But what if we just kind of want to just role play it? No, it doesn't matter. It's either fate point or no fate point, or you pay a fate point.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Like, it also doesn't ever address the flip side of things, where, let's say, oh, my barbarian is trying to woo the Baroness. You have a charisma of 6 and no skill, right? Okay, roll it. Oh, net 20. Oh, okay. I roll again. You still haven't met it. Like, basically, roll another 20. I did it. Oh my god. And then you have a big scene where the Baroness is just very swooned by this oath somehow. And it's very funny.
Yeah.
And it's going to be in your mind forever. It's going to be a story you tell 10 years later. Literally happened. Like, I have a friend who, not this scenario, but who, like, there was a big duel and they rolled, like, a really clutch dice. And that's still the story they tell because they found it so cool. And they had so much fun with that. And this, it's a transaction. It's boring because of that immediately. Also, again, it doesn't, there's no, and this would have been really interesting, pay 2 fate points to turn it around.
I know. That would make it interesting immediately.
Like, again, because you have 3 fate points, paying 2 of those to be like, well, but actually the Baroness really likes my character because he has no manners, because she's never encountered that before. Everyone around her is so prim and proper all the time that seeing this guy shovel food into his mouth with both hands, like while ignoring the cutlery next to him, that's just something she's intrigued by.
Yeah.
So, like she's gonna talk to that guy now, and there's gonna be a scene. This lady with a fan is gonna get weird stories about this guy's step homeland, where he hunted bison, and is going to be like, yeah, the whole time just staring at the guy's muscles. It's not gonna happen because we don't even have a rule for that. It's very sad.
Yeah, it's very anti-storytelling, if I may.
Yeah.
Because you write down these aspects on your sheet. Okay, cool. Well, these things just happen then. Like, I don't really get a choice. And the only choice I do get is, all right, I'm going to spend a fate point and make sure it doesn't happen. Like, I don't like that.
Yep. Every time you go out to do it, it feels like you want it to happen. You want to have the trouble because it gives you something. As opposed to, well, my character doesn't like to be here, but he's going to be here because we kind of have to read the Johnson for this run. Even though my character like is in an area that is like the Halloweeners really hate him, so he shouldn't be in this bar, but he's going to chance it because I want the job. Yeah, that's high stakes. That's interesting. I don't want the trouble, but in this you want the trouble. And if you don't want the trouble, why not? It's the only way to get fate points. Why would you say no to it? Like then you would just. That's the other thing. You would just not be there. And this is something my players found out very fast. Is if my aspect says I have no manners, and I would have to pay a fate point to not have it apply, I'm just not gonna go into the fancy restaurant at all. I'm waiting outside, so I don't have to pay the fate point. Because I don't want another fate point. I have like 5 from earlier. And I also don't want my manners to come up again and eat up time again. Because they're the only thing that gives me points and the only thing I can get it from. So it's going to get so old after a while that my manners are the problem.
It is. There's no growth. There's no arc. And the most important thing is the arc.
Yeah. Or not even if we ignore the arc, there's just no variance. I can't get in trouble for 5 different things, or for being wanted, and for being a thief, and for being this and that and the other thing. No, I'm always getting in trouble for my manners, because that's the one thing that the game has for me that is negative. Because we had to crowbar it all into the one aspect. Maybe we have a second aspect that is like double-edged, that sometimes comes up. But mostly it's going to be the one that says that's literally called my trouble. So, no variation, no fun. I'm sorry, but it's just true. Like, imagine if Gimli from The Lord of the Rings had races against elves as their trouble, And then instead of bringing up like in the first, like saying two things, and then in the first movie be like, oh, side to side with a friend, yeah, I could do that, and then having growth. Just in every scene, Gimli was like, man, I hate elves. Elves suck. They're stinky tree dwellers. I hate them. And there's no growth. It's so dead. You're so right. The growth is so important. It's absent here. And the only way to have the growth is there is ways where you can rewrite aspects, but it's not supposed to happen every like game session.
Mhm.
So it's not enough. And also, again, you're going to still always have the one trouble that's going to always get you in trouble for your points. So why, like, there's growth, but it's like we are growing around the problem. We're not solving it. We're just making it something else that's going to always be my character's Achilles heel.
Yep.
And also, like, the question then is like, do I spend time in game relearning, like learning the manners? How does this happen? We have to deal with the cult and everything. Like, we don't have time. These are another aspects, because the game is also not really talking about, like, to its benefit. It doesn't really care about like how long combat is and stuff. It doesn't really care about combat rounds and shit. That's good. But a good DM is always going to introduce, well, in 3 days time it's the full moon, and then they can do the cult can do the ritual. We have to find out where they're doing it by then, or it's going to be trouble. So now suddenly you have 3 days to do the thing. Are you going to really learn about manners during that time? No. You'll have to wait for downtime. When is downtime? When a good DM is good, downtime is not that easy to come by unless actually there's like a whole arc is solved. Because you want there to be urgency to things. We want players to be invested in the story and wanting to solve it. And a good way to do that is to say, well, you don't have unlimited time. Anyway, one thing we haven't talked about yet is, and obviously using aspects for role playing is like, yeah, you're supposed to play them. Good job.
Good job.
You don't get anything for that. It just informs your role playing. Like there's some things in here which I'm like scoffing at, because so removing or changing an aspect, if you want to get rid of a situational aspect, you can do it in one of two ways. Roll an overcome action specifically for the purpose of getting rid of the aspect, or roll some other kind of action that would make the aspect make no sense if you succeed. For example, if you're grappled, you could try to sprint away. If you succeed, it wouldn't make sense for you to be grappled anymore, so you'd also get rid of the aspect. What? If I'm grappled, I'm on the ground, and some guy has me in a chokehold. How do I sprint away? Game? Like, this is the level we are at in terms of what's it called? We're not nitty gritty, we are high concept, basically.
Yeah, we are.
So the problem with this, exactly where I cast sprint.
Yeah.
The problem with this is, look at our skill list again. Athletics, burglary, blah, 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 right? So we would roll, in this case, I'm assuming athletics to sprint. If I can do that, athletics applies to everything. They can always do this now. Like anything that, like, oh, he's pointing a gun at me. Well, I'm sprinting away. I'm no longer. He can't do that. I'm not there anymore. Okay, rest roll. Oh, you have +4 athletics. Yeah, okay. You can always succeed. Great. What an interesting system. Like, this is weird. It's weird. Yeah, you can cast swing. Waggles cast dive, and then yeah. Like,
I can tell you the origin of that example. It was literally the player didn't know what to do or what to describe. As I'm just going to run away.
yeah. Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? Don't use that as the example then. Holy
Yeah.
shit.
Like, I have different levels of fun with this in this game according to which skill it is that we are using. I'm very happy to use deceive for everything, and just be like, hey, your gun's not loaded, by the way. Hey, your chokehold sucks. I can just sprint away if I want to. You just lie about it. I would find that funny. I would find that perfect. The other good one is resources. Okay, so with this chokehold, I pay him to stop. I can give him $50 and be like, come on, just let go of me. That's more where this came from. Shows roll of dollar bills. Like, that would be funny. But there's so many of these, like, some of these skills are never going to be useful for that, so they become worse if you allow this shit.
Yep.
Yeah, I wouldn't lie. I'm going to lie and say his grapple sucks. I could just sprint away. And he's going to believe me because my deceive is at +4.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because if you look at these skills, right? These are their base skills. Some of these aren't even skills. Contacts and resources technically aren't skills to me. They are more like advantages.
Yep.
Rapport, I believe, is with positive connections to people. Yeah, okay. Could be useful, not come up very often. Provoke is... you can use provoke specifically in combat, I think, which is why it's its own thing. It's the being a jerk skill, yeah. Notice is just literally perception. I noticed that I'm not grappled. It's the meme from that one video, but it works here.
It is? It works perfectly here. Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm not grappled after all.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like, empathy. I realize that the guy who points the gun at me just is really troubled, and tell him that it's gonna all be okay, and he's gonna lower the gun and cry. Like, yeah,
oh no, this is turning into the tablet game. Holy shit, because you could literally do that in that game.
I drive. Why do I sprint when you can drive? I'm grappled. I guess I drive away.
Drive away. Burglary. I just steal his arms.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Yeah, crafts. I just make a puppet that looks like me that he has grappled instead of me. Like, yeah,
I make it out of his arms. Yeah.
Burglary. I steal his gun. It's like, like, yes, you can. Like, if you allow me to sprint out of a grapple, I can do anything in this game.
You literally can, yeah, literally. And no, there's a certain amount of this needs to be grounded, like it needs to be, and they punch that in the face and take its lunch money so many times in the examples because I'm guy with sword. Okay, fuck you. Like, really? Is that where we're starting from? Fafhrd the Grey Mouser? Something where you could go and literally get a more specialized RPG for right now?
So
I just, no.
And the thing we have still to address is also the stunts. You get, I think, 3 for free, and then you get 2 more if you want. But they cost you like a refresh. And we're gonna get, like, what stunts? Let's look at burglary right here. Burglary stunts. Always a way out. +2 on burglary rolls made to create an advantage whenever you're trying to escape from a situation. Security specialist. You don't have to be present to provide active opponent to someone trying to overcome security measures you put in place or worked on. Normally, a character would roll against passive opposition for that. What's the difference? Passive opposition is a difficulty check of, like, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. And in this case, you could roll against them. Okay. Talk the talk. You can use burglary in place of contacts whenever you are dealing specifically with other thieves and burglars. So, stunts, basically, and I don't dislike this concept, allow you to specialize your skills.
That's basically it.
By either giving you bonuses to something, or by allowing you to be like, well, I don't have contacts, but I sure know a lot of fucking thieves because I'm a thief myself.
Yep.
Kind of thing. Like I'm kind of known in that area and I can use it. I like this. I forget because there's so much in this game. If you, oh yeah, they tell you what you can use to defend and for advantage. So we can't use, oh, I can use notice to defend. I notice this gun isn't loaded. Okay, it's fair enough.
Yeah.
Trying to remember if the stunts cost fate points. Like, I know getting, like, you have a refresher of 3. If you take a 4th stunt, it goes to 2 and then to 1. So if you have less than 3 in the current fate at this end of the session, you would go to 3 for the next session again. Your refresh is automatically given back. It's like getting your fate point for Fabula if you don't have a fate point. But if you had like 5 stunts, it would only be a 1, so you would only get 1 point automatically. So you would have to get your bad manners would have to get you in trouble even more often, which is obviously bad. So I would never take more than 3 stunts. You can also get stunts from character progression. I believe they just apply, right? You don't have to pay for stunts. Like you don't have to pay fate points for stunts.
No, you just get them and you just use them.
Yeah. I was going to say I was pretty sure it's like that, but yeah, I'm making sure. And these are just like the examples are pretty good. Like I like this because it's kind of freeform. They are never going to give you directly +2 to attack, I don't think. It's always overcome. Overcome is skill checks. Overcome is not fighting. You're never meant to have a +2 to just fighting. I believe at least. I mean, we can look at fight. When you succeed with a style of fight attack and choose to reduce the result by 1 to gain a boost, gain a full situation aspect with a free invocation instead. Okay, so if you hit already, you can sort of a boost, get a full aspect out of it, which is a permanent thing on the enemy, which is pretty nice. Never someone is about to hit you with a disarmed situation aspect or something similar. Spend a fate point to declare you have a backup weapon. Okay. One gets a boost representing. So if you didn't defend, then you can spend fate. So spending fate is possible in these, which is weird that it's this one thing where it happens. So since this mentions it, I guess the others don't need it. Okay. To see when you force an opponent to take consequences, you can spend a fate point to increase the consequence severity. It was already going to take a severe consequence. You must either take severe consequence in the second consequence, or we take not. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
pretty straightforward. The stuff that's really good, you have to spend a fate point.
Yeah. So I would argue that these are actually both really bad. Because this is just an when you could get disarmed, how often does that really happen?
Yeah.
And this one is, I already hit him, I already gave him a big consequence, I'm gonna give him a second consequence. So he's already gonna be disadvantaged next turn. Is take him out now. Okay. I would not, like, this isn't very interesting. I would never spend my stunts on this. I would always put my stunts on like cool stuff. Like I know thieves is cool.
I agree.
I get +2 to run away from grappling. Getting grappled is cool. It's not so cool to have that. I think shoot has one where you take an additional free invoke on an advantage you created first person. Time you take to aim, line up shot like in my sights.
Very cool.
Like in my sights? Is that anywhere? The thing that we should know about? This is not here.
It's not here.
Well, okay, whatever. Like these are again pretty freeform. You come up with them. You can change them in between sessions, I believe, as well. At least we allowed that when we played. I think it might have been a well, you don't really know what's good yet, so just pick something and we'll change it later, kind of thing. Which I highly recommend if you ever play this. Definitely allow that for your players. because they are going to want to rewrite their shit. And the game tells you they are allowed somewhere, so definitely do that. But yeah, these are the skills. Feel like they're pretty self-explanatory. And then there's actions, outcomes. So the outcomes do we have? Well, it's 4 outcomes. Fail, tire, succeed, and succeed with style. Fail, pretty obvious. And whenever you fail, you can succeed at a serious cost instead. You can pay so this means you don't get what you want, you can get what you want at a serious cost, or you suffer some negative mechanical consequence. Sometimes it means more than one of these. The gems drop to determine an appropriate cost. So where did it even link me to right now? What to do during play thing. This is very helpful. This is the longest section we've seen yet, and it's somewhere in here. It's probably what we wanted to click on. Thanks.
Probably, but where? I don't know.
Okay, it doesn't matter. We're gonna get to it. In a tie, you get what you want, but at a minor cost, or you get a lesser version of what you wanted, which is interesting. So if you like tie with an opponent, technically you get it, but these are not fight outcomes. These are skill outcomes. It's important to say. If you roll higher than your opponent by 1 or 2, you succeed. You get what you want at no cost. And as succeed with style, get a added benefit. Serious cost versus minor cost. Thinking about cost, thinking about blah blah blah. Cost should make a current situation worse somehow. Creating a new problem or exacerbating an existing one. Bring in another source of opposition in this scene or the next one, such as an opposing NPC or an obstacle to overcome. So I roll bad on thing more enemies show up. Okay, fair enough. Minor cost should add to the story detail that's problematic or bad for the PC, but doesn't necessarily endanger the progress. You also ask the PC to take stress or give someone who opposes the PC a boost. So very freeform, very unhelpful, in my opinion, because it doesn't really like. This is the one place I want 10 examples, please. Please give them to me, because this is so broad that it's hard for me to wrap my head around what it could mean. Like, what is a detail that's problematic but doesn't necessarily endanger progress? What does it mean? What does it mean, game? I don't understand. I literally don't. I mean, I can think about it and then for a situation have an idea of that maybe, but most of the time maybe also not. Then do take a moment to say when you should roll dice. Basically, if you would succeed anyway, don't roll dice, and if the situation isn't like precarious, don't even roll usually. So if you have a +4, the situation is a +2 difficulty, you just succeed. Stuff like that. Pretty normal. And then you have 4 types of actions, which are overcome. You overcome any obstacle. And this is exactly what the cost stuff is. Yeah, it's exactly these. And then you have creating an advantage would be I want to have other people or myself later have a bonus. So I'm using an action to create that bonus. And then you roll against something. And usually you would, against, if it's a player, an NPC or something, they would defend with their skill. They would run away from your grapple, so to speak. And then either you get the bonus or you don't, and this would create either a boost or an aspect. So if a situation for this means an aspect, which becomes rocks on the path, but whatever. Okay. Yeah, and importantly, you create a situation aspect from this that anyone can use. But you get a free use of the thing for your next action, basically, or later.
Yeah,
because you created it. It's just gamey, but I don't mind it. This is kind of fine. This is the stacking up of, again, things in the scene that will make it complicated to DM and to keep track of everything. Because imagine you have 3 player characters, like the game wants you to have at least 3 people doing this, and then you as the DM can also do it. Kinda a lot can happen there. And then if you succeed with style, you get 2 free invocations, which is what we found in play. We played this again. I think we played for like 4 sessions. People would, for the most part, just use the free invocations and then forget about it. Because, yeah, sure, there's a thing I can invoke. But I can also invoke anything else that's already in the scene anyway. So why would I invoke the thing that someone created? So the main thing is create aspect, use next turn for +2 for free. That was always how it was played, and made it not very dynamic, because for the most part, the things that were created were kind of more specific to a situation than the overall descriptors that were used. And people tended to avoid stuff that would be a hindrance to other people. Like, I could turn off the lights in the room so that everyone is in darkness. Then I use that to slip away. But I won't do that because everyone else in the room, including my friends, is going to have a minus to do anything else now. So I'm just going to find a different way to word my escape that doesn't do that. So all of these invocations, advantages rather, ended up being very specific and didn't apply beyond their free invocation all of the time. You can also do this for an existing aspect and use it to your advantage, which is, yeah, it's kind of the same thing, except storytelling wise, you're just using a thing that's already there to do it instead of a different thing. Like, you explain why you are using the cluttered floor to your advantage, and then you get an invocation out of it. Versus, I clutter the floor by throwing everything on the table down. It's the same thing. It's kind of the same thing. You can attack. It's already explained. You can get. When you fail, you just fail.
Yep.
In this case, there's no succeed at a cost. Makes no sense. If you tie, you get a boost, but do nothing else. If you succeed, you do damage equal to the step difference. But you can also buy a boost from some of your step difference. And with style, oh no, this is the one way you do it, right? If you succeed with style, you can do it. Number of you targets for way off. Oh yeah, right. Normal hit just does it, but style success will also give you a boost. Yes, that was, sorry, I misremembered. And then defense works exactly the same. So essentially, except you grant your opponent a boost if you die. So defending is kind of worse than offending, but that's fine.
Yep. This is one of the few systems where I've seen that, where you still get a drawback if you tie your defense.
Yeah. Which is, I think, since you didn't get hit that moment, you just know next turn you're going to be like off balance, so you're going to be harder time defending. So better do something with your own action this turn.
Yep.
And importantly, the game allows 1 action per turn, but unlimited defenses per turn. So you can always defend. Like an overcome action, though, like since it's not directly against you, it's against the situation. You can roll active opposition if it applies, but you can't just defend. It's just a different thing. which is kind of a distinction without much of a difference except what it means, like in terms of ties and so on and so forth.
Yep.
Because because the overcome also means if you tie, the person who initiated it just gets what they want at a minor cost. So you kind of have, if you, like, SDM, you must be ready to say no, they failed a lot, because otherwise, like, imagine the scene where the MacGuffin has in his hands every roll, because everyone's always accept consequences. It's silly. It's really silly.
It is. This is very Blades in the Dark Apocalypse world brained.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And that's the enormous takeaway everybody should have from this system, is that there is a lot of but you failed, but you failed, but you failed. Even if you get a boost or an aspect or whatever, like you fail a lot in this. And
well, the thing is,
the time of the game with this kind of storytelling.
No, I think actually, like, the thing is, you succeed at a cost a lot, because you can always do that. But the problem is that just means you failed to do what you wanted anyway.
Yep.
That's the important thing. It's important thing to point out what you mean there. It's not so much that you failed. The game wants you to succeed at your stated goal, but then be like, but also the room is on fire now. Because you knocked, like, while you were grabbing the MacGuffin, you knocked a chandelier over or something. I don't know. And create more problems that do drive the story forward. I can also feel like a comedy of errors kind of situation sometimes.
Yes.
If people just roll bad.
If you want to play Inspector Clouseau, the tabletop role-playing game, this actually works really well for that. Yeah. I'm not even memeing by saying that. Like, that's actually perfect, because you wanting to, rather comedically, continue to fail upward by succeeding, but at, like, the cost of, oh no, Kato got hit by another car, then that's like, this is the game for you in that regard. But I don't know, like, you don't get I can play competency porn with this kind of game at all. You just never get that feeling.
What's this again? That's an extra influence. Yes. Okay. So one thing that this doesn't really touch on, it happens in this game though a lot, because the thing we played this for the longest time was us playing in the Eclipse phase world with fate rules. Because the person who wanted to run it was like, guys, I can't. Eclipse phase is too much. But I know fate. I have done this before. I can run it in fate. And to their credit, it worked okay. We would refer to our existing character sheets, because the people who were playing, or the player characters had character sheets from Eclipse phase, and be like, okay, I can invoke my high skill in XYZ. And then like, I expected that to be part of my space pirate background, and stuff like that. It kind of worked. But what the game also often to always does is, and there's definitely a thing in the Eclipse phase right up for Fate, items. Because you might have noticed that so far, there's not been a single talk about our sword people having cool swords, or wizard having a spell book, or anything like that. Because the game completely abstracts this per default. In the core rules, isn't even present. Like, show me where it's here. It's not. But to tell you how items work, because it's like in almost every other playbook they talk about it. It's basically just how you would expect. This item just has an aspect to it that gives you something if you use it. In the game, we had guns that would, if they hit, automatically do X damage. Like, I think 2 damage or something. They would just raise the damage you do by 2, saying, yeah, it's a deadly weapon. We have a deadly weapon. It's like a assault rifle. It's gonna do a minimum of damage if it hits somebody, or like anything else you can imagine. Which now means also that on top of that, a very aspect you have to keep track of already. You're also keeping track of player and NPC aspects for the items.
Oh, yeah.
And when I struggle a bit with that, I'm like, yeah, that's too much, game. Oh my god. It actually becomes too much after a while, like all these keeping all these aspects in your head. Because in let's look at D&D again. I know a barbarian of level 5 has like a plus whatever 7 to hit. I don't remember, but let's just say maybe 8.
Yeah, so.
I can more or less expect, I can learn that as a DM that my friend here has a plus 8 to hit. So I will remember that. Will I remember that they have like 8 different items that all do a different thing at all times? Multiplied by 3 for other players that also have all these items? No.
No, you won't.
Like, it's one of the good things about most games is that if the players have rope, that's kind of up to the players and up to the players only. I don't care as the DM. If I present them with a ravine that they have to get over and no one has rope, but that's a problem, isn't it? It's how we get some rope. And in this though, since a +2 to something, let's say, is so important, it's kind of automatically important that I keep track as DM, and that the players also like keep track. And I don't know. And like while in most games, it's kind of that's the contract between player and DM that the player will not fuck with their inventory and cheat, just writing down that they have rope and they don't. And the DM will not have to keep track of their inventory because the DM really doesn't want to. But in this, since every aspect that is kind of a thing that informs important bits of gameplay, you kind of have to keep track.
Yeah, you kind of have to. You have to keep up on it.
Trying to find the leveling up stuff. Where would that be? Because
under the long game, advancement and change.
Yeah, here we go. Oh, this is so bad. Please advance your characters per group. Please. They were there for it. They experienced the arc with the other player. They get to do it.
Yep.
So what can you do for minor miles? Like, you will gain when something that narratively is concluded, like, oh, we saved old Ferguson, I forget the name. From the orcs. Okay, cool. That's my thing, so I get an arc. No, we all get an arc. Shut up. Okay, cool. An arc, yes. So I can switch the rank value of 2 skills or replace one average with one that isn't on your sheet. So you don't actually advance, get a bonus. You just switch skills, which is okay. Change any single stunt for another stunt. Purchase a new stunt, provided you have the refresh to do so. So you don't gain extra stunts for free ever. You always pay for with your refresh for them. Rename one character aspect that isn't your high concept. This is bad. Again, this should just be allowed anyway. The game even allows you to leave them blank if you have not enough players. So why can't I just rename this shit? And why can't I rename my high concept? Does it allow these things? Because the players will need time to acclimate to your game. I don't mind that you don't actually gain skills. I think you should just be allowed to change your skills within reason, especially at the start of the game. Can also rename any moderate consequences you have so that you can start them to recovery, presuming you have not already done so. So yeah, you would like, oh, dislocated, like, well, no, broken arm is like goes to plaster cast arm and then eventually to forearm and then to nothing. So consequences heal over time. Significant milestone. And these are the ones. One is your skill point, which you can spend to buy a new skill at +1 or increase an existing skill by 1 rank. If you have any severe consequences, you can rename them to begin the recovery process if you haven't already. So a severe consequence stays with you for a long time, which is also strange. So let's say my severe consequence is that I broke my leg. Because let's invoke a little bit of Blades in the Dark here. So no one looked after it until after we rescued the man from the cave? Like, you would look after it immediately and then it would get renamed, right? I don't know.
Yep.
You spend your skill point, it's worth 1 step on the ladder. You can use it to buy a new skill. So, TLDR, raise your best skill because it's so good. Because the +1 goes so far in this game. And is there pictures? Am I blocking pictures? Amazing vendor. What is this? Oh, these are just broken. Okay, cool. And then major milestone. The extreme consequence. Rename it to reflect. Wait. It's extreme consequences? Okay. The additional point of refresh, which allows you to immediately buy a new stunt or keep. So here's then how you get more stunts, because I remember that being possible. So if you hit a major milestone, whatever that may mean in your game, you actually, your refresh goes up. So you can now take more stunts. I would say maybe don't, because having fate points is really good. Advance the skill beyond the campaign's current skill cap if you're able to do so, thus increasing the skill cap. So yeah, the DM can set a skill cap of like +4 or something to the game. And then you couldn't raise something to 5. But with this, you can raise the skill cap in the campaign.
Yeah.
You name your character's high concept if you desire. I do not like that it's these specifically. This should not be. Just allow me to rename it, especially like again, first arc or second arc. Because maybe I have a better idea for it.
Yeah, there's. I'll save the what's the worst part of this at the end because I know what it is.
Okay.
It's like, all right, milestones. It's supposed to like they're using the actual definition there, defining a milestone. Yeah, okay, like something happened, etc. But they're doing it wrong because they're saying it happens at significant breakpoints in the action, when really a milestone is after a significant accomplishment.
Yes.
A milestone in your life is not when I decide to stop building a spaceship. It's because I built the spaceship. It's little things like that in this that are very stupid because the definition is there, but it's not quite what the definition actually is. And that's how like all of Fate works. Like stunt, I immediately think, oh, okay. Do I get flip kick as a stunt?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a stunt? No, it's not. That's not what stunts are here. A stunt isn't a particular action that you have that you do a cool thing with. Instead, it's, oh, I'm really good at this aspect of the skill. Okay, I guess that technically could be considered a stunt, but it's not the commonly accepted definition of what a stunt is. So I have to think slightly adjacent to where I normally think in order to digest any of this game. And I really fucking hate that. Like, the whole time I'm having to, like, okay, what is this thing? Okay, an aspect. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. When really, here are 3 tropes that define my character. isn't really my prime central aspect. Instead, it's tropes. I don't. Oh my god! Like that just keeps happening here.
Yes, it is. And I found the global gadget and gear roots.
Oh yeah.
It's really bad. It's really bad. But like there's more than the Fate Core. You can see there's a lot of toolkits here. And Fate Core doesn't even talk about items, which I think is really bad. Because this would come up. What is our money situation? Oh, you have resources and skill. We don't talk about money. Bad. I don't like it. I like when the characters have some shinies in their pockets. And so can buy some things with them that should do something. And items, same thing. Because items should be helpful. And in this game, how do they do that? Well, so we have the magnetic grapple gun, high-powered electromagnetic swing line. So you could invoke this like anything else, costing you a fate point. You could also invoke the flaw to buy you a fate point. So it might not work in this case, still working on the bugs, right? And then if you give it stunts, those costs refresh. So congratulations. Instead of having my character have something that it does, that they can do well, my character has an item that lowers the things they can do because they get less fate points, but they have an item that is this. It has the stunt on it. Why would I ever do this?
I hate it.
It's the worst. This is really bad.
So bad.
Like, obviously, I could just, okay, let's do a clang. Spend a fate point to secure the magnetic grappling to a metallic object in a dramatic way. Grappling a swiftly moving vehicle, a falling parts raffle, blah, 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 blah. It costs a fate point to use this item for its intended purpose. That's a stunt now. What? I have a magnetic grapple gun. Why would it cost a fate point to grapple something with it? Is it just because I don't have to roll? I can already succeed at a cost and a skill shred anyway. Why would I ever pay a fate point for it? And also, why am I paying a fate point when I'm also losing refresh for this? What? And then the other trick shot, +2 to create an advantage with a shot with shoot when you use the grapple gun to swing around, disarm an opponent or create a barrier. So see, this is just a normal ass stunt. Why would I take this? And I can just be like, trick shots. Create an advantage with shoot when I use an appropriate item to swing around, disarm an opponent or create a barrier. Oh, I rewrote your thing to be for my character instead of for this item. Really bad. So the solution in our game was items, if they have a like an actual bonus to them, like again, it does more damage, like the thing I said with the guns in our Eclipse Fate game. Items are, you don't get that many items, but they don't cost refresh. Just like decide what you bring for the adventure, kind of thing. If they cost refresh, then they are just the same as you putting it on your character. And why would you ever put it on an item that you could lose if you don't have to? And also, again, these are all like, they all have a flaw. So you're, instead of giving my character more flaws, so that I have more than one thing I can invoke for flaw, I have to have an item that is bad, and then I can get more, get that. That's so stupid. What? The root should have been equipment has like a function, and then if it has a flaw, you gain something, and the gain it shouldn't be significant. I don't even know what you would do with this, but this is bad. I can see that this is bad. And also, like, they have a lot of rules for like everything, but it all boils down to you have like style thing, and then it gives you a bonus. It's all a +1 or +2. It's always the same. Cyberware. I know major orcs give you like Kicker's Weapon 2. Cool. Oh yeah. Weapon 2 is this attack that they also don't have in the core thing. That's what we had for our guns. A weapon tag is an item. The tag tells you how much base damage it does. That's what it was. There we go. It was years ago, so sorry, I couldn't remember fully. So if I had a gun in the Eclipse Phase game, it would have weapon 2, because those are all deadly, like shooty pew-pews. So what it does is, if it hits, if you do the successful hit, it does 2 extra damage. There we go. And that's just a free thing. It doesn't do anything else. And the fact that the base game doesn't talk about items at all is so weird. Because you're always going to have MacGuffins in your game, if nothing else. Like a magic sword or something. Or the spell book of another wizard. Like, these things are so interesting. A lot of time is spent in many campaigns sorting and looking through and looting and pillaging stuff. Because it's interesting. And it gives you new opportunities. And it gives you, like, the ability to buy a fucking sand ship. Because you made 20,000 zenny.
Yep.
By stealing from some criminals. Where?
I'm going to use the term I used before. Like, it basically is telling you don't have arcs. Don't.
Yeah.
And when I say arc, like, I'll be more specific this time. I made money as a mercenary, and now I can buy my own castle. That is the most classic arc that has existed since the start of tabletop role-playing. Yeah. It is. Dave Arneson thought, oh, that's cool. I like that idea. Maybe that's the motivation of some of the peasants in this village who went into mercenary work. Gary Gygax poo-pooed it, but then eventually realized, no, Arnie's right. Like, that's the perfect arc, especially of the guy who picks a class that's called fighter or fighting man. And for the wizard, the same thing. I'm going to get a tower. For the thief, almost the same thing. We're going to start my own thieves guild where I can basically be a mafia don. Like, that's all of these arcs are basic to the tabletop experience, and Fate seems so anti-arc that I hate it.
Yeah.
Even Blades of the Dark doesn't do this. And the reason why I bring that up is Blades of the Dark, it has specific tracks for how you can improve your hideout and stuff like that.
Yeah. And this is kind of what I'm also getting at here. Let's look at, again, Fable Ultima, right? Oh, we stole money from these people. Now, it can be a point of question. Okay, how much money did we steal? Which boat do we buy? What other supplies do we need? What does that cost? Do we have money left over? Do we have to chip in our own money? Blah, 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 blah. In this game, you would... And this is, to be clear, this is all interesting stuff. This is stuff where the player can be like, well, let's think about it. We need some stuff to drink. My character would not just want water, so what do I want? Blah, 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 right? A way to express your character in little ways that aren't like super important to the game, but then add something to it. Like, I'm bringing, as the ship's cook, what am I bringing as ingredients? Like, and how do I make, like Lock already said, hey, there's not going to be great cooking because it's going to have to be stuff that keeps. So we're going to see about that, what we get and so on. Like, right? It matters. It matters for roleplay because this informs. My character's going to be in a shit mood on the ship after 2 weeks because we're eating nothing but hardtack and sauerkraut. So we're all farting up a storm, and it's a terrible time on this ship. So I will be happy to be offered even for an hour to do something else. So when we see something in the distance, blah blah blah. But also we saved like $1,000 by not buying the good rations, so that's cool. And I'm going to spend my cut on that on something that I want to get. I don't know, you know? It's all things that you develop out of the idea of, okay, we have a bunch of money. In this, if I want to do the same storyline, it would be like, well, we need to steal from this guy and from the other guild to get enough money for a ship. and provisions. And then it almost doesn't matter, like if you have money left over after, and if you nickel and dime yourself into it, or if you spend it all on the boat, because the only thing Fate is concerned with is that you had the aspect enough money for a boat at one point. Now you spend it on a boat. And that's the narrative. It's actually less intricate than a normal game. And not a little bit, way less intricate than a normal game in that. Which, yes, if you just want to be high concept about it, I guess that can work. But many players, myself definitely included, like the nitty-gritty aspects of it. I like thinking about, did Elliot bring the sword off to this talk or not?
Yes. Like, this shit matters. These are parts of story. That's why, like, one of the best moments in LA by Night is actually the storyteller before the really big events in the game. Him going, okay, so what are you guys bringing?
Mm-hmm.
And them having to recount certain things that they had gotten along the way, almost like, magic items that certain hobbits picked up, except it's a vampire game.
Yeah.
And what's his name? I always forget everybody's names. The Ventru says, yeah, I'm bringing the Rothfuss pistol with me. And everybody remembered the one time he shot the Rothfuss pistol before. It looked like somebody had burned from the inside out from how much, like, incendiary stuff was in the bullets.
Mm-hmm.
And the moment of him saying, I'm bringing this with me, that's a story beat. That's part of the arc. It's going to get shot again. This is literally Chekhov's gun, if people aren't really picking up on putting down. And so many things in RPGs are those things because items are important. And people want to remove that, the object acquisition from things. And I'm just so opposed to that inherently because I don't know. I have an air conditioning now, and it feels great, and it's really improved my mood and my demeanor. It gave me +2 to happiness. Like, it's a literal thing, like in games, that these things affect your character, affect outcomes, affect situations. But if it is, I get the item, now I don't refresh my fate points as much because I have the item. Well, fuck you. This is too gamey.
Yeah.
This is way too fucking gamey. It's so stupid. I hate it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I really hate it.
Yeah. I will say, this game, I think the best use of it would be a superhero game. Because in most superhero stories, like, your powers inform what you can do. Mm-hmm. And you can very well write these powers out as aspects of yourself and then just play with that. Yeah. And usually items in a superhero game, like if I'm like Batman, I have items, but then I can write down, I have like gadget travel situation. It's one of my aspects now. And then you just have that, and no one's gonna say anything when you evoke that. It's fine. But at the same time, if I'm the Hulk, I'm just gonna say I Hulk out as one of my aspects, and then I'm gonna have bonuses to like athletics and shit, and I don't need items for that. That's why it works. Yep. The more, like, I'm gonna say street level, I don't know, the more intricate and more detail oriented you want to have the game, the less well this works.
That's absolutely a good way to put it.
The less well this is going to like serve you.
Oh yeah.
And that's my takeaway on it, and that's why I do not really like this game.
Even beyond superhero stuff, this is assuming, like, this is a fun example. Indiana Jones, it's just assuming that his whip is one of his things, that is one of his aspects.
Yeah.
But the reality is he only uses it a few times. He doesn't use it constantly. And that's where this game falls apart, is it's just like, if that's one of the items that costs him a refresh, that's stupid.
Yep.
That's so stupid. Yeah. It's so situational. Yeah. Like, he's not going to use his whip to get his coffee. Come on.
Yeah.
Whereas the Iron Man suit, it makes sense.
Yeah. Even, like, the rule could have been, if you have to use the item, you're going to lose a refresh. Something. It costs a fate point to use the item, but the item gives you good stuff. Even that would have been a better rule than what they wrote. Rips coffee off table. No, coffee grounds. We have coffee grounds now to pick.
Not coffee
But,
grounds.
okay. I think we already kind of went over the worst part of this, but Trek, do you want to say anything else about the worst of this? What do you think is the worst aspects of this?
I will just reiterate, it uses definitions for things that are slightly adjacent to what the real definitions of things are, and that really bogs me down constantly. It irritates me that milestones is, no, it's a break in the action. Fuck you, that's not what a milestone is. It's not. I don't care. And a skill is not resources. Fuck you. That's not what it is. Like, that irritates me so much.
Yep, it simplified itself out of good definitions.
Yes, you can't do that. You just can't do that.
My issue is, like, I hate GURPS. I hate that it's a 600-page book of rules, of dusty rules that are kind of way too intricate. But that's what you need if you want to make a generic role-playing game that does everything.
Yes.
In this case, they are saying, oh, you can do everything with this. And then very quickly, you can see stuff where I'm like, okay, I want to play Link. How do I get a Master Sword? If I only buy the Fate core book, I don't even know. Because item rules aren't in it. What do I do now? So it has to be part of the aspect? I don't want to start with the sword. So I guess I have to rewrite my main aspect or something after the first arc when I gain the sword? I don't know. Like, you can make it work, but it's so much extra work on you that it's just not worth it. And again, the layers upon layers of aspects you have to keep track of. Because, like, again, in a normal situation, every player has aspects. You can invoke them. You have to know them. Every NPC has aspects, so you have to, for every NPC in the scene, have the aspects known to the players. Otherwise, there's no point. So there isn't even really a like sense of mystery. If this guy's a low-level thug for the mafia, then I have to just write that as an aspect of him. And then so my players know now, even though they wouldn't really know that. And there is not really a system for finding out aspects, like if you don't know them, because the game just doesn't care. Because you're meant to tell us a high-level story with it. And then also, in a fight, different zones exist, like the house, outside the house, in the garden, the street in front of the garden, blah, blah, blah. And each of these has different aspects you can invoke. And then players can be in different areas, shooting at each other, and then use different aspects from the environment to do stuff. And then the items can have aspects. Wow. Also, there's temporary aspects you have to remember. It's really just ends up being more complicated than just being like, this orc has 38 points in a battle axe and a +7 to attack. He's gonna hit you now. Like, it's unnecessarily complex.
It really is. Also, the same thing, like, let's just say Shadowrun. Okay, yeah, okay. You look at all the lists of modifiers and things and tables. Okay, yeah, I get it. Wait, all these modifiers are logical.
Yeah.
They aren't a weird boost that I got from hitting somebody with 3 extra successes with my smart linked laser sword. Like, none of that is going on here when you're playing Shadowrun, because they don't add the arbitrary bonuses that float around like little ghosts from Super Mario World that annoy you because you can't jump on them. Like,
I mean, I'm sorry, but during talk show time, we don't have redeems on. They're gonna be on again on the Monday. I'm doing well. Yeah, what you just said, about times a million. Like, it's just like, it's too high level, in my opinion. Do you have a favorite thing about this?
This is the only generic system where I have just outright told people I don't recommend it at all. And if you do play it, you need to just pick up a setting book rather than use the generic game. So I guess that's one of the things going for it that's good, is that it's produced some good setting specific games, but it fails as a generic game for me. Like Dresden Files, I've known people who played it for years.
Yeah, that's true. They do refer to Dresden Files within this. Like Dresden Files is the game that actually predates Fate Core, and from which it like sprung. Fudge dice and stuff. We haven't talked about that at all. We can talk about that now.
Yeah, we were too busy punching this in the face.
Yeah. My favorite thing about this game, so divorced from everything, it's the idea of aspects and what they do with it here. I like as an idea because I bought this book because I like the idea of, okay, you form everything through these and then you use them. I don't like the way they use them in this because of the fate point mechanics. I feel like you should just be able to invoke aspects willy-nilly, just make it free. But then don't have 10,000 other sources of them. Like, yes, sure, make it so that aspects exist, but it should maybe be 2 or 3 aspects that are character intrinsic. If it's so high level anyway, why is rocks on the floor suddenly so important? Right? Like, doesn't make a lot of sense. So on paper, I really like these ideas, but there should be I wish for a game to exist that does edges and flaws like this. It's way freeform, but they give you a bonus to something. Like, I could really see this working as a like Shadowrun thing, where instead of the current rules for edges and flaws, you just define your high concept, define your trouble, and define some extra aspects about the character that are double-edged, and then that's your edges and flaws, and that those can like you should roleplay them basically. The DM can tell you that you wrote down that you are like BTL addicted, so you're gonna have to like wrote something in the scene, blah blah blah. In concept, I like this, and I hope someone brings out a system where it works, because this is not it. It's just not it. Yeah. And I guess, would we play this? I have played this. I would not play this again.
No. There's so many better things to do with your time. There's better generic systems too. There just is. Savage Worlds does so many things that are heavy lifting so much more flawlessly than this. Yeah. So much to the point where you wonder why is there such a big gulf between these two things when both of them can be used to do the same thing?
Yeah.
Like, exactly. It's pretty extreme. It's pretty extreme.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So what's fudge? Okay.
Fudge is where this came from originally. Fudge was the dice originally. Sorry, we got so far in the weeds, I completely closed this link. So it was originally Freeform Universal Donated Gaming Engine, also known as Freeform Universal Do-It-Yourself Gaming Engine. And the acronym's long since been dropped, but this is where the dice came from, the plus, minus, and neutral dice. They're D6s that have 2 pluses, 2 minuses, and 2 neutrals. The reason why this is important is that the dice have come up in so many situations, in so many different contexts, that people forget where that came from. The fudge dice became more important than the fudge system because, well, fate has completely supplanted what fudge used to be. And it was intended to be an easy to use, fun thing to do, like just use these dice and it'll make the system easy. There is a recent CRPG that was made using basically fudge and fate, using fudge dice, called Space Wreck. And Space Wreck is you're just the captain of a ship who needs to go and get fuel, and it's a pretty short game. but everything just plays off of using fudge dice, counting pluses and minuses and neutrals. It's wild that this has a history that goes back to the early 90s like this.
Yeah.
That
Yes. This is
you'd also think that this kind of thing has existed before then, but no, it didn't.
It's contemporary with GURPS and TWERPs.
Yep. And it was a reaction to GURPS. It really was.
Mm-hmm.
It was, GURPS is too much for me.
Yeah.
Can we please do something that's laid back, please?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it has its own OGL and everything, but Fate is the successor to it. It just is.
Yeah. I think I would actually really like Fate if it was less high concept. If it actually did more with what it has. Instead of having the heavy lifting be done by 5 sentences you write down.
Yeah.
It should have a bit more rules. It shouldn't be GURPS. But they could, like, the thing is, there's a lot of ink / digital ink spilled here on explaining these aspects and talking about them and so on and so forth. The rules itself are, you tend to forget little aspects of them, but they aren't that complicated. If you play this a bit, you will know them.
Yeah.
I said initially that it's hard to like explain these. Yeah, because the rules are very intertwined. They're very much like they key into each other a lot.
They really do.
Because you want A to happen so that you can do B and C, and then you have a plus to X and so on. But that's all there is to it. There isn't many rules here. So just add more rules instead of crowbarring in like rules on top that are still the same as the other ones. Like if the item rules were, you have a certain amount of item slots that are meaningful items. Like the game assumes if you are aspect is seasoned adventurer that you have like rope and shit with you. That's the route that Fabio Ultima goes, right? Fabio Ultima says, no, you have like normal equipment that we just don't talk about it. It's fine. But Fabio Ultima also is like, well, you have some special items that you can use. You have an armor slot and an equipment slot and a weapon slot and a shield slot you can use. Put stuff in there. And maybe you find some other interesting things you can write down that aren't that. Cool. Do the same here. Give me like 5 slots. Give me a weapon slot. What's in my weapon slot currently? Oh, this. Do I have different weapons? Maybe, but you can bring one to this firefight right now. Like you pull it out. So which one is it? That kind of thing. Like, I don't know. Give me a stock of items that's not defined and then tell me, oh, you want to have a grenade? Well, I guess you pay 2 points of your stock and then you pull out the grenade. Something like that. Mm-hmm. Something we talked about the other day. But if you crowbar every addition to your game into the same 2 or 3 rules that you have, it's going to still... Why are we using it? It might as well be... I might as well be using those 2 or 3 rules and not worry about it. Because like I can say that the magic sword is part of being a good swordsman. It's just the world we live in. If you are a good swordsman, you have a magic sword, I guess. Why would I pay a stunt point for it? I just don't wanna. And if it was instead, well, the sword gives you something that is separate from everything else. Like again, say what you will about D&D, but the idea of magic items are a source of bonuses you can't get any other way is really good.
Yes, it is really good. For a while there, they fucked it up and said, well, that's what you need, period. And then eventually they reversed that and said, no, like, it isn't about needing it. It's about you having thing that you cannot do any other way using thing. And I prefer that way more. Like the Iron Man suit, if he could just like deploy rockets from his forearms normally, then he wouldn't need the Iron Man suit. And that's exactly what the fucking D&D magic item is, the Iron Man suit.
Yep. So, again, like all these extra rules, right? We have like this is all free. Like to their credit, again, this is all fucking free. But is there much in this? Mega stuns, modes. I don't know. I haven't read this. So to be clear, I've only read reread the core rules for this. But it's system toolkit, right? That's where the items were. Yes. Yes. Somewhere. Customized tools. I don't know. Here's wealth rules. Starting wealth, we get one stress box for each aspect. Maximum like, yeah, putting it in stress. We inventing a new stress box system here, which is just no. What do you mean? What is resources then? If wealth is a thing, resources almost in which acquisitions of wealth is often prime motivated cyberpunk cluster. Something a little more flexible. Oh, so yeah, and this they just say this don't make resources a thing. Let's make resources a thing that goes up and down. Very high level again. Don't really like it. I don't like the idea. That's also something that is, I think, is a Dagger Heart, where it's like you have 5 bags of money.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly Dagger Heart. And then also Blades in the Dark does something very similar.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why Blades in the Dark does it is because there's the idea of saving for your retirement baked into the gameplay.
Yeah.
Which, honestly, there are some things in Blades in the Dark that fit the whole heist thing that are fun, good. Like, it makes sense.
I just realized this is not the first time you are referring to Blades in the Dark as a positive while we were reading this. You must really hate Fate.
I really hate Fate. Like, the reason why I make the comparison over and over again is both of them have a concept of failing forward.
Mm-hmm.
Because, okay, the dice said I failed. Okay, how about I succeed with like a really big drawback? That, depending on how big the drawback is, it's sometimes almost exactly the same thing, which is why I hate it. But yeah, I don't know. And also, Blades in the Dark is more targeted. It's less of a general, generic thing, and that's why on so many occasions it just does it better.
So yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's it.
I
can't anymore.
That's our Fate thing.
I can't.
If you like this, congratulations. I guess it's the game for you.
That helped. I mean, yeah, it's the game for you. Mm-hmm.
It's just like such the high concept shit. I never liked high concept. I always like games that are intricate, nitty gritty, where I'm like, but I have one more grenade. I can use this turn to get again to like solve this problem. Fuck yeah, that feels so good.
Yep.
In this, I would just be in like, well, I use my sword fighter aspect to gain a +2 to this attack again. Because why would I do anything else? Like, it's always going to be boiled down to that. Because, like, yeah, I use my, what was it, girl with sword aspect to invoke and get a bonus to sword fighting, or to getting like someone's attention. So it's going to be the same thing. That's really bad for its That should be my least favorite thing, honestly, because since you have so few things you can invoke, and 3 of them by definition are more specialized, you're always going back to your high concept to say everything you do is your high concept. Because I am a sword fighter, I can also kick this card over really well because I have strong legs. Because I'm a sword fighter, I can climb this rope because my core strength is really high. Because I'm a sword fighter, I blah 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 blah. Everything is going to be because of that. So it's too broad to be interesting. Because the options are, I do that because of Sword Fighter X, or I'm like, well, I have +4 anyway, I don't need to invoke, I can just do it. Like, my athletics is 4, like here. I don't know. Probably not me. but who cares? This would fight here. Right? So that's my character. I have athletics 4. Any athletics roll I can just do anyway. I don't need to invoke it. So, meh. It's too broad. It's just too fucking broad, too high level, too one note.
Mm-hmm.
And the way to make it less one note, and that's the other problem, is to add more aspects. Very quickly becomes annoying and uninteresting as well. Because yeah, you're going to invoke different things, but it just means there's even more places you can always just find a reason you have a +2.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a +2 to everything. So why not even just say you can get a +2 by spinning a fate point and explaining why you're cool and not have an aspect at all? It's just like, yeah, man. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Fuck this game. I was like, when I reread the rules at first, I was like, man, this is still kind of cool. I still kind of like this. And I will admit I have a soft spot for it because I really wanted this to work. But it would have been cool.
I understand that. Yeah. It
would have been so cool to have a generic system that's actually okay. But yeah.
I mean, for me, my system for that is Amazing Engine. I constantly wanted it to work when I was younger. And yeah, it just doesn't, but that's fine. Like, there's stuff to take from it. I have a hard time finding stuff to take from this, except for the aspects thing. But even then, they make it too amorphous and, I don't know, gamey. Whereas I like the grounded aspect of it in like Shadowrun or Vampire or something, where you just glance at the table and go, "Oh, okay, that makes sense."
Yeah, no, I agree with that. So yeah, there we are. Hey Drake, what are we doing next time?
So do you want to look at a White Wolf property that didn't go very far and wasn't that popular?
Oh, so wait, all of them except for Vampire, and that's not narrowing it down much. Okay, yes.
Actually, it is, because it's probably the least popular one out of all of them, that is Aeon Trinity. The one science fiction thing they did that nobody liked.
Oh my god, I never even read that. Oh my god.
I know. It's a dive. It's a dive into the 90s and what they thought. And it's technically the sequel to Aberrant. So this is like an arc 2 years later.
So wait, you said, do you want to what? So they have another option?
No. That's the option. It's the only one.
Okay, I choose this option then.
Yes.
I invoke it to gain a +2.
Yep.
To read it.
Get a +2.
And
for those who are watching, this is basically the only way I can put it is, hey, we wanted to make a science fiction game, but we're White Wolf, so we have to use our White Wolf system with it. Oh boy. The system is the system is a system. We'll get to it.
Oh god, I can already imagine this being ass. Oh no. Yeah, okay, it's gonna be. Wait, how old is this? I never heard of this before. Almost like I heard of this, but I never even I know it exists, but I never looked into it at all. So
let me see. It was released in 1999.
Oh, that's goodly, yeah.
Is that it? Yeah. And here's the thing. It was written as the sequel to Aberrant, but was published before Aberrant, and then Aberrant was published in 1999. So this there's nothing I can say about it.
Okay, that's gonna be a thing, I guess. We're gonna look at. Okay, it's in 2 weeks' time, folks.
Yep.
Next Saturday, Drake and I are gonna do something or other.
Yep.
Anything else to plug, Drake? Anything else to say?
My streaming will be spotty when my brother visits, and he'll be visiting probably for 2 or 3 weeks. So we'll see.
Yeah.
He shows up either tomorrow or Monday. So.
Oh, okay. Yep. Yeah, I'm back on Monday. We should, if Drake can hack it, be doing bar on Monday.
Yeah, bar Monday. Yeah.
I'll have a schedule up on Monday. I will also on Monday probably a bit late because I have a dentist appointment at 1 hour before stream. So depending how long that takes,
Yep.
I have to look after the trompas for Vampire. It's very important.
Very important.
I might be slightly late for stream, but only like by 15 minutes or something. Beyond that, yeah, I think Pebble Ultima should be back next week.
Yeah.
We are, and that's it. We're gonna rate Obli-chan.
Yep, Obli-chan.
And they're playing Pokemon? Yes, they are. Man, so many people play Pokemon. Yeah, okay. I'm looking forward to reading old White Wolf stuff. Like, as much as it's probably not great. Old White Wolf stuff always has style.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's why I mentioned it, because it's old. It's got, what the fuck are you writing this for? But there's some stuff in it that you're like, okay, I get it. I understood why you wrote it this way.
It has,
it's got it all.
It has grace and there's a funny face.
Yep. That's definitely Trinity. Oh my god.
Okay, I'm looking forward to that. Well, folks, I'm gonna hit the red button. See you all soon. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
And we are